This is our BMW versus Audi SUV comparison, featuring the pairs of BMW X7 versus Audi Q7, BMW X5 versus Audi Q8, of course would also be against the X6, and BMW X3 against the all-new Audi Q5, and BMW X1 versus the Audi Q3. So we're going to examine all of these pairs, and then later on I'll say what I would choose actually, and also you tell me which one would you go for. Let's go.
BMW has worked on their X7, and you have asked me, can they now catch up in the SUV segment to Bentley or even Rolls-Royce? Do they make them obsolete? We're going to find out here on Autogefühl with Thomas with the update BMW X7 here in Brooklyn Grey. What a setup. Look at that with the extended shallow line. Here you can see then the double kidney is in all black, and look at that, how large it is. Vertical fins right there, and also in here in the M Sport the contrasting lower bumper. What I've done is here with the front setup, they have split the daytime running light and the main headlamps. This has created a lot of discussion. Some love it, some hate it. Tell me in the comments which side are you on. Are you team love or team hate? But overall I think a very impressive setup. They wanted to make a bigger differentiation between the X7 and the X5 or X6 to put this one here even more upmarket. Yeah, maybe also to attack the top luxury brand. Going to find out if that works or not. You wonder about the big microphone today? Well, there's a generator and some, like waterfall stuff running in the background. So best sound quality for you. Length here at 5.16 m or 203 inches. That hasn't changed, but what has changed, the wheel sizes starting now from 20 inch as base up to 23 inch now. Biggest one so far at BMW, and here these are 22 inch. Already very massive styling in these M style here. Also see the badge right there. Wow. And then the M Sport also then has this contrasting side here. Overall a very impressive look, and you can see this is also optimized for space. So especially for US customers, they're using this as a people carrier basically, or for the family and stuff. Therefore more upright windows that you really have also space on the inside. Technology wise, optional here for the 40i or standard for the M60i is rear axle steering and anti-tilt control. Gives you more sporty feeling, but at the same time rear axle steering also somewhat fakes a shorter wheelbase when these rear wheels go in the opposite direction than the front wheels, also reducing the turning circle. Very interesting, by the way, that with this new electrification, mild hybrid technology, when I'm easing the car here around and just rolling downhill, then the engine tends to shut off and you're rolling. The car is still somewhat active, but the engine is already shut off. So not a true hybrid feeling, but already some mild hybrid moments. Yes, an X7 looks bulkier in the rear than an X5, for example, because again, space also for the third seating row and so on, and for the trunk. But here with this sculptural three-dimensional tail lamp design, really nice. It looks again a little bit more dynamic, and this chrome strip here goes all the way across. I think this color here works very well for the vehicle, doesn't it? Look at that here in the lower part. Autogefühl fake exhaust police, because, well, the outer one is just for beauty cosmetics. It works well design-wise. Yes, the real exhaust on the inside. So in this case, although it's not just about, the real thing, I think it kind of works, doesn't it? What's your take on that? Overall, I think, considering this is also form follows function, it still was worked on very well design-wise. Or what do you think? Do you like the design? Tell me in the comments. And more colors for you. This one here is sparkling copper gray. Very interesting. It has some kind of copper nuances when you look very closely. Also a very cool color indeed. And this one here is frozen Marina Bay blue. The matte paint. This one looks really striking. I mean, in combination here with the black wheels in 22 inch, maybe a little bit too much, but I would love it, for example, here the matte blue with bright wheels. Or what's your take on that? But yeah, this is also one of the most, screaming out colors. It's not bright, but still, this has a big presence on the road. And this green color is called Verde Hermes. It is special, very unusual to see such a vehicle in that color. Would it be something for you? Tell me in the comments. This is the car key. It's actually light but good quality. And then you close the car here on top and open it like this with the keyless entry and door closing sound. Ah, beautiful. Yeah, That's really nice. And then inside of the doors, also very good material use. This is also Sensatec leather red here, soft and real buttons here. Everything very easy to control. Hofmeister King design citation. Also big bottles fit in this side pocket right there. And now big news for the cockpit. You see here one curved integration of that one carrier, but then screens 12.3 on the left, 14.9 on the right. Soon more details to that, if that's a good idea or not. Here's the M Sport steering wheel. I appreciate that we still have real buttons at the steering wheel, so that's straightforward to control. Then about the seats, look at that. This is also big news then for the X7, also available for the X5 by the way. These here are the so-called Sensación seats. They're an evolution of Sensatec, so they're animal-free, but super soft. Look at that, how plush they are. The surface itself feels really great, and they also have this pattern on it, so that looks really amazing. It's available here in black or also in a bright styling. We had it earlier at a different vehicle. In the UK is also the standard to all of that. Actually, is it standard there? Well, you can get it in the UK at least. I checked the configurator. In the US, it's definitely standard, and also great choice. Moving everything forward, uses way more less resources in the whole production process, and it feels even better. So the X7 has never been that comfortable with this new seat here. This is really amazing. In Germany, it's not in the price list or the configurator, but you can just tell the dealer, I want these seats, and then they promise to get it. That's what they told me, at least. So seating comfort is awesome indeed. By the way, the BMW 7 Series, there it is called Veganza, but it's basically the same material. They just use two different brand names for that because they're different suppliers. Here, the X7, X5 and so on, these big SUVs are being built here in the US, in Spartanburg, whereas the BMW 7 Series is built in Dingolfing, so that's in Germany, and then they have a different supplier, but they have the same material quality for the non-animal materials. Really interesting. Here, headroom with 189 or 642, still plenty of headroom left, although we have the panoramic roof, and we have this command driving position here. You feel like king of the road, but without, let's say, exaggerating it, you know, these top high-end luxury brands like, you know, Bentley or Rolls-Royce, sometimes you have the feeling that they're going a little bit over the top. Some appreciate that, but for me, for example, I like a more form of subtle luxury, so not saying like everyone like, oh, look at that, you know, but more being a little bit functional, and this is still somewhat the case here. Maybe not with the infotainment, but we're soon going to talk more about that. So, look at that there. The cockpit looks really clean and cool, I think. Nice wood integration right here, but of course different styling decor elements are available. This looks like modern textile here now. Here, this is the way you control the vents. And there you can have some ambient lighting, so I'm going to show you that. Rear knob still for the volume here in the lower part. Yeah, but then the thing is really with the screens. So there is no separate climate unit available anymore. I did prefer this from the pre-facelift. And here it stays always in that part. Yes, that is somewhat helpful at least, but to control it while driving, I mean, it's okay for such a solution, but it was easier before. That's one of the things I do criticize with this facelift here. And let's take a deeper look here into the software. And this to me is a symbol of over-engineering of the software. Clock 2. It took me a while to figure it out. How long did it take you? It is 25 past 8. Yeah, that's the time actually. And then it switches, you know, like in these, what the fail? Yeah, about that. But I mean, let's take a look at the rest of the software right here. It looks quite amazing actually from the visual part. However, I think it's just overblown. So OS 8 is to me too functional in a way, or it has too many functions. I love the OS 7, especially when I want to have like the consumption figure right here, and then I have to go here, vehicle apps, and then to live vehicle, and then content, and then trip data, and okay, I'm asleep. So yeah, that just takes too much time. I don't get it. Yeah, however, the car internal GPS is still one you can use. Oh, it's a Frank Sinatra drive. I heard President Obama was also in this hotel here recently. So then let's zoom out. Here we're in Palm Springs. So that's actually pretty cool, very well usable. The CarPlay integration, and that is very well to use, definitely. Interesting thing, definitely. Let's see about the sound system. This is the Harman Kardon sound system, and this gives you a really nice, true, in-depth sound. So yeah, I love that. Wow, that's cool. So I really like to drive the vehicle and listen to music, and at least the volume I can still turn down, and also on the steering wheel I can also put the music up and down. And yeah, I love clicking sounds in the vehicle, right? Because they somehow present a user interface. So you get along with the infotainment system. It's fast enough, but it's more complicated than before. But what about the instruments? Then here, the digital instruments. Let's put that engine alive. Here we go. And then you have left side the speed and right side the RPM. And you can also adjust the things here. For example, the content, what you want to see here. Maybe also some GPS content and so on. Or from the car internal map. And then here, this is then the layout. So you can also change that depending on what you prefer. Here I also prefer the pre-facelift layout. But yeah, you get along with this easily. So it's not an issue or something.
So what we can see here is the head-up display.
Hey, Michelle, don't steal my microphone. So
I'm sorry.
That's my part. What you can see here is the head-up display. Very nice to see. I also put it here to full brightness at the moment. And here a closer look at the ambient lighting. I'm also switching the colors through. Of course, you can even better see that at night. And I also don't dim it at night, that it looks really still kick-ass, yo. So of course Thomas Blue it would be for me, right? So not this one, but definitely Indigo. By the way, what I can't show you here at the moment, because I would need a web connection here for the smartphone. I don't have that here at the moment. You can have the Apple Maps actually also in the instruments cluster with the Apple CarPlay. Google Maps you can also have there, but only with the Android Auto. But at least you have then one solution each. That's also a helpful thing to have, that definitely. And what I also find cool with this car, you have separate buttons for things, like a separate button at the inside of the door for the rear shades. And I can easily activate or deactivate the rear shades without going deeper into another menu. Just one button here at the inside of the door, and that's it. And, you know, I can control my seat, my own seat, of course, from here. But I can also switch here at the inside of the doors for this so-called gentleman function. And then I can also control the the other seat on the other side. So, you know, when someone gets in the vehicle and says like, I don't know, this is also a cool camera slider in here in this case, right? Goodbye, Michelle. Yeah, so
the most expensive camera slider. So
yeah, the most expensive camera slider. Yeah, these seats are very expensive. So I think it's a cool function that when someone doesn't know, they kind of like, oh, I don't know how to adjust the seat. Like, wait a minute, baby, I can show you how to adjust the seat. Lower middle console here, you can slide this one open, and adaptive cup holders, they are also very well built. Here still USB-A charger. This one is inductive charging here. It does not have this new function, the air sucked away yet. So the thing is, with the inductive charging, it tends to overheat indeed. So I would probably rather use then the cable charging solution. And then this is also new with the facelift. You don't have the real shifting lever anymore. Pro is, it's a more integrated solution. It's cleaner and, you know, have more space in a way visually, but I do prefer the real shifting stick over this one. This looks just digital to me. When I'm in a BMW, I want to have like thing to really touch and feel, you know. This is still, of course, a real deal, but the big one to me was cooler. Here you select the driving modes and the start-stop engine, and it is also equipped always with adaptive air suspension, and you can also see it right here because you can also change the level of the air suspension, but it also does that automatically. For example, when you drive really fast or in sports mode, then it also goes a little bit lower. And then we have the split opening here for the armrest. There we go, with USB-C charging. Rear seating is super interesting indeed. So you can still here electronically control the seats, but you can still touch these buttons. Michelle can show that on your side. So what I'm doing here on my side now, these buttons here, and unlike in the all-new 7 Series where everything is digitalized and you have to slide the seats and control them like with screens in the rear, this is so easy because it's a straightforward solution. And here, that way, for example, when I move the seat to this position, I could still sit here, and then we'll see how much space there will be in the third seating row. But if I have the seat here all the way back on that side here, you can see this is the maximum legroom we get. Of course, it's a long vehicle, it's not the best usage of space overall, but still plenty of space, of course, for tall adults. For me, 1 m 89 or 6'2", and headroom here also still works, even though this is the one with the panoramic roof, of course, from the rear seats. Gives you a great view, and it's so comfortable in the rear here. So this is to me also one of the most comfortable cars in the rear here overall. You can also adjust the back part here in the angle. Here in the front we have mounts for iPad holders, and I think this is also somewhat a better solution than external rear seat entertainment, and so, because when you just put some holders in here and use your own iPad, I think it might be the best solution overall, isn't it? Also, the Sensación material here in the back, it is so soft and high class in quality. So even if just quality and feeling plays a role, I would always go for this one here. It's really the most superb I've seen in the automotive industry yet. Here, this part, you can also move down for cup holders then, and they also secure the bottles quite well, and some more space right here. And now it will be very interesting what we can score in the third seating row. But just a quick remark here in the front, USB-C chargers, 2 more, and then you also have a separate climate unit. This one here, when the engine is running, and still works with real buttons. But once again, the seating comfort here in the rear is really top-notch here for the second seating row. And now this button here is to fold the rear part only, and the button below that is for the entry function. And then the front seats moves a little bit forward, therefore it takes a few seconds first. And then this one goes forward and up, and this is also a very easy solution then for an entry. Remember, the alternative to this bench all the way through would be captain's seats in the second seating row. These are also available. Then you have 2 individual seats here in the second seating row, and you can maybe move through the middle. It's quite tight though, so this is maybe the better solution. But then the question is, do you want like 2-2-2 setup or 2-3-2 setup? And this one here with the through bench has the big advantage that you can fold all the things all the way flat. I'll soon show you that from the trunk. The captain seats are a little bit more exclusive. Yeah, but maybe this one is giving you more possibilities. And here the interesting thing is, when I move this seat here forward, as I could still sit there, then I could also somewhat closely fit into the third seating row here. So it is somewhat proof indeed for 7 tall adults. Also headroom is closely but directly working, and you can see here ISOFIX also for the rear seats, so you could also install some child seats here. Good that they thought of that actually. So indeed, this is probably by this solution here the best luxury SUV people mover also, and even easier of course when you're not that tall, or maybe you have children who don't need like extensive child seat but are already not that tall. Maybe something in between. This is like a good use then for the third seating row. And you also have some luxury amenities here in the back, cup holders for example, or also a separate climate unit, even seat heating for the third seating row. Yeah, but I think you gotta check the options list for that. Let's check out the trunk or the boot. It's a split gate here, and this allows us a cool picnic function. For example, you can sit down in here and have a chat with whoever you desire. It's 750 up to 2,120 liters is the capacity. Of course, a little bit less if you use the last seating row. But step by step. This is like, a small cover. You can also just remove that. The width here, you see here, is a little bit more than 1 meter or 40 inches, so that's really cool. And the total height here is a little bit more than 80 centimeters or 32 inches, so very well usable here. You can see easy storing of the things, and then you can slide them out. So for packing things, it's actually quite nice to have this additional space here. Yeah, this is how you can see how you can remove that thing as well. And then underneath, look at that, there we go. So underneath we have here a storage of that bigger cover and some more space. And this is at the moment here the setup here with the second seating row, and there are different buttons here. For example, max luggage, and with the max luggage button it only works when the car is properly powered. Let's see, there we go. Yeah, has enough power yet. So then this one also folds flat. There we go. Takes a while, but looks definitely really amazing. And you can see here, this is then the third seating row. It's all the way flat. That is actually pretty cool. And then you can have individual settings here, or then max people button. And this one then moves everything up. So a very convenient solution. And there again we have the third seating row. This one you just put it up manual. Then you still have some space here left behind the seats. But overall, very well usable. Hardly we see a top-end luxury car that is so well usable indeed. The best engine that BMW has to offer is the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder turbo petrol engine. Look at that here, 380 horsepower and 5.8 seconds in the acceleration figure. If you want to go a second quicker, you could also take the 8-cylinder, 4.4-liter 8-cylinder. That is then the M60. However, this one here will be more fuel saving than the 8-cylinder, that's for sure, and it is definitely enough for this vehicle. In Europe, you can also still get the 3-liter diesel. Welcome to Thomas's Luxury Driving Lounge with the BMW X7. Here today, the 40i, the 6-cylinder, and to me the right engine for this vehicle is the most efficient one. You can go like 10 liters or more kilometers, 23 mpg US, 28 mpg UK easily. That's possible. Sometimes even better. Cruise control, straight, not too fast. Here a little bit worse at the moment because we're going uphill. But they have made this engine a little bit more efficient, also worked a little bit, some tweaks here and there, also mild hybrid integration. So going forward also in this case, the 8-cylinder will have more punch, however, so like a second quicker in the acceleration figure. However, it will also use like 5 mpg worth, or like 2.5, 3 liters more per 100 kilometers. So not sure if you want to really have that. Yes, you have a little bit better sound, it's like low frequency growling, but again, to be more efficient, saving some fuel, then of course the 6-cylinder here is way to go. And here we can also show you some acceleration. I'll just do it from a standstill right here. I'll put it to the sports mode. There's one button for that. Also go to the S shifting sports mode and go from 0 to miles. Let's go. 55 miles, and that's a quick acceleration, and that was a nice sound from the 6-cylinder. Yes, the V8 would be more growling, low frequency. That is fun. However, here the 6-cylinder is lighter on the front axle. That's of course also an advantage, and you've seen an acceleration, more than enough power. And that's also the cool thing about the X7. It is a large SUV, but still it doesn't feel too different from driving in an X5 or X6. Yes, they feel a little bit sportier, but since you also have, it's an option or standard with the M60 V8, that rear axle steering, especially at lower speeds. This SUV feels so agile and also has a narrow turning circle because of that. Really good job. And also this anti-roll control. Although we sit upright on the road, we have a great panoramic view to the front when we are passing through some great landscape roads like here. It is amazing still. It doesn't shake up at all. In the sports mode, the adaptive suspension also makes it a little bit stiffer, have more contact to the road. I have a good steering feeling. So I always wonder about that. Is it from you guys in the US plant in Spartanburg that you somehow have a better feeling for that? Because I've been criticizing BMW 3 Series especially, and some of the all new BMW models for losing the steering feel, because they have this new philosophy of making the steering wheel light, so it's supposed to make the car more agile in the feeling. Yeah, I can understand how they mean that, but I don't think so. For me, a BMW has to have a natural steering feeling. And believe it or not, their SUVs have the best steering feeling in the lineup. It's supposed to be the 3 Series, but it isn't, you know. BMW X5 and X7 have probably the best steering in the BMW lineup nowadays, and yeah, that's really astonishing, but it's just the case, and I have a very good steering control feeling over that. So although I'm driving, let's say, the most bulky BMW there is in their lineup, I'm having so much fun here up the road. Of course, you're overtaking this Lincoln Aviator here. It's also one of the competitors. Yeah, and literally it does overtake this one because we have such a great interior build quality. We've seen that earlier. Also, the nice new Sensación seats are also activated the seat cooling here at the moment because it's already quite hot outside here, outside of Palm Springs, outside Palm Desert. What a beautiful area here. Always love to be back here. And of course, also Joshua Tree National Park. It is one of my favorite places. Just been again there yesterday. Oh, we're catching up to an X5. Wow, it's such a great race up the hill, almost like going up Pikes Peak. Yeah, I mean, yes, in a 5 Series sedan, this road would be even more fun. But considering the size, it's still a lot of fun. And we can also go back just to the normal comfort mode, and you can easily go up that here. S shifting mode turns up the RPMs higher. That's why you also hear a little bit more of the RPM. But here in the D mode, it's also just fine. You can relax then a little bit more. Yeah. But also when we are in the somewhat softer steering here, I don't have too much, like sports mode, more resistance. In the comfort mode, not so much resistance in the steering, but still feels natural. And also suspension-wise, it's fine. You can stay in a normal mode. But I think, especially here, that you reduce some G-forces on the body of driver and co-driver. I think it makes sense to go in sport mode when we're going up these winding corners here. And to me, that's the essence here also of a BMW product, that no matter which segment it is in, it does deliver a sporty driving feeling. And they do achieve that also with the X7 here. That's the cool thing. To me, indeed, the 6-cylinder, especially in the corners, feels a little bit lighter. So when you're more running straight, I mean, you're at the big intersection and then you start using the V8, hit the throttle, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's something appealing to our bodies, definitely, especially when you're a car enthusiast. But here for winding corners, I think the 6-cylinder with a less weight does appeal a little bit more. And yeah, as I said earlier, in running straight, cruise control, highway use, it's also giving you some decent mileage considering this size of an SUV, definitely. As for the roundabout visibility, it is, this in this built upright style from the windows, this greenhouse we have around, and therefore the roundabout visibility is quite nice actually. And let's say, like sunshades, yeah, it's efficient to block out some sun, but I want to have more visibility. One press of a button and these blinds go down. So I like the direct user interface. The only thing I indeed have to swallow is that separate climate control. I like to have that down there. There is one possibility for you. If you say you don't need the space of the X7, you're like fascinated by the vehicle, but the X5 is more or less the same besides the third seating row. Yes, the different siding on the exterior. Oh, sorry. Yeah, BMW surely didn't want to hear me saying that. It's more or less the same. Yes, they want to be the X7 more upmarket now, and they do easily achieve a Rolls-Royce or Bentley. They surpass them with that, especially also in the driving part, So it just feels so much better. And this is already an expensive vehicle, but you don't need to pay more money to get a better vehicle. You do not get that then, So this is, to me, probably the best luxury SUV on the market here at the moment.
The Audi Q7 has been facelifted, and here we have it as the sporty SQ7. And we'll go through the changes and also solve the question, are the previous generation Audi models actually better than the all-new ones that have recently been coming out? We'll go through the exterior, interior and driving details here. It's Thomas Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the front. What a huge front single frame grille, this black mask here. This also has an additional black package, that's why. And the new facelift change is that we have these L designs here in the S-Line and in the SQ7, and the Audi rings are really extremely large, but at the same time,
they are now more two-dimensional, and also a chrome delete has been happening. Chili red is this very vehicle color.
Chili red metallic.
Chili red metallic, yeah, thank you, Leah. Thanks for that. Then the headlamps here, they are coming, in this case then here, optional matrix LED with laser lights. And you can see more black accentuations due to this black pack all around the vehicle. Also here is the mirror caps. Then, by the way, the headlamps, they also have new, coming with that facelift, digital signatures. You can actually change from the interior for a personalized LED signature experience. Works both front and the rear. Side profile, 5 meters 0.7 or 200 inches. And this 5 meters 0.7 you can very well imagine, because this is also 507 horsepower. And we'll soon take a look on the engine compartment here on the hood. And then 21-inch wheels we have here today. 20-inch would be standard for the SQ7, and up to 22-inch are available. At the rear axle, we also have a rear axle steering available for the Q7. That is also standard with the SQ7. And this one also comes with the adaptive air suspension, then with a sportier note. And let's directly take a look under the hood, because this is really crucial, of course, for the SQ7. In general, you get 3-liter 6 cylinders, petrol and diesel. You'll also find the exact figures here for the normal Q7 in the video description and the pinned comment. And this being here the SQ7, you have the 4-liter V8 biturbo with 507 horsepower and around 4 seconds in the acceleration figure. Classic quattro overdrive, 40% front, 60% in the rear, and then it adapts a little bit. And of course above that would be then the RS Q8 with a little bit more horsepower tune. In the rear we can find more of this black package, for example, and you can also see here these proximity lights. So they change when I go away from the vehicle, there we go, and when I approach the vehicle again, then they say, hey, go away, this is too far. Or too close actually. You went too far, this is too close, that's what I wanted to say. So this is a new way to communicate with the outside world. Also here then with the facelift. These are also OLEDs, organic LED. This is a separate option then once again. And SQ7 here, the badge has been redesigned. So you have this one, but it also would signalize the S line. Then it would look like this. And I think that's a wrong decision, because if you buy an S version of an Audi, you want this special S badge there, and not to be mistaken with an S line, right? Even though it says here S, I think it's the wrong decision. It's also been missing in the front grille and so on. Yeah, what do you think about that? Tell me in the comments. And also the turning indicators. When you have this most extensive LED option, they have them cascading both in the rear and also in the front for this special turning indicator or hazard light effect. Let's get to the interior. This is the key fob here. I think slim and nice, S badge then in this case, and really solid door handles and a great door closing sound front. And even more so in the rear, really. The thing is that especially the passenger door actually closes. Shall we show that to you? Just come around, because it was something really funny that happened to us many times now actually. So like the passenger door, probably because there's so much insulation, you know, and the rubber pads and so on, here, like when you close it with normal force, it won't close. You really have to slam it.
Open.
Yeah, like with the G-Class, because you know when Leah was closing it gently, then it never closed actually. But I think it's not a big problem. It's more, you can also see it here on this side. There's so much rubber insulation and so on. It's also very silent car on the interior. And yeah, that's the wind. And then here inside, this is rather hard but structured, a little bit soft only. Then we have here a carbon fiber deco element and a lot of microfiber, dynamic microfiber. Then here softer for your elbow and classic controls here for the side mirrors. I really appreciate it. However, no felt covering here on the inside of the door pockets. S entry badge, since this is the SQ7. In general, the Q7 and SQ7 interior are not too different. Here you have the red contrast stitches on the inside, S badge. It will also look similar in the S line actually. Same to the seats. In the European market, you can also get this dynamic frequency, it's called. Here, this is a microfiber with a special pattern. That looks really cool, actually. No animal-free solutions are available, and on the US market, you cannot even get this one here. So that's disappointing. There you can also see that the lineup is a little bit older now. And here, with 189, 6'2", there's plenty of headroom left.
6'5".
6'5", blue eyes, yeah. 6'2" is fine, right? It doesn't have to be 6'5", right? And I'm also in the automotive industry and not in finance. So yeah, but I think it's fine for you. Yeah, it's a very comfy seating position. Also here the microfiber seats, if you can get one, this is the most comfortable seat here. Great upright seating position, I love that. And also here this platform, like the Touareg as well, the Bentayga, the Q8 here. It has like an even sill with the outside here, and this creates a very special atmosphere here. The cockpit overview, this is still the previous generation of the large Audis, and to me this was a little bit better. The only exception is you have a lot of high gloss black here, and this area field here also tends to do some squeaking noise sometimes. However, here we have a carbon fiber decal element, it's cool. Glove box also properly dampened. But the horizontal stress of this layout is cool, and I also like here the integration of the screen. It doesn't just stand out, pop out. So this integration in the interior, I think, looks nicer than a lot of modern cars. Or what do you think actually about this? Here also the climate unit is in a separate screen, and I do prefer the physical Audi unit, but for a touch screen solution, I think this is a rather good solution. Also interesting here, by the way, that you can here use this swiping gesture to sync left and right and off the temperature. Cup holders are here, adaptive as well. Really thick shifting lever, classic deal as well. This middle armrest here is soft enough for your elbow. However, it's a big fail because this mechanism here underneath is there that you can actually slide this in and out. But then there's such a thick, hard box here. You can only put your smartphone really flat and level here, for example, on this inductive charging pad, where it overheats anyway because it's not cooled. Or if you want to put in the cable, you really have to be gentle and everything has to be very flat in there. If something is sticking out just a little bit too high, you are crashing your smartphone and your cable with this thing. You know, you put it down and it's really like, I don't know, like a, yeah, well, like a, what I'm thinking of, maybe Star Wars, when they are in this squishing pit, you know, and they're trying to escape, yeah, something like that. Back to the vehicle. Back to the future, and then here the steering wheel perforation at the side has a really good size and grip, and I really like we still have real buttons with clicking sounds on the steering wheel. Once again, when I think about some newer Audi models,
it's like you cuddle with the steering
oh,
wheel.
I'm cuddling with the steering wheel. Yeah. This one's animal skin though, but real three-dimensional rings here on the Audi, here of the Audi on the steering wheel. So I also prefer this actually. That's pretty cool, right? And then we have the digital instruments, very clean atmosphere. You can also change something of the views here, for example. I prefer this view, like this, you know, with the classic round gauges and so on. And we also have a head-up display. There we go. It's flickering at the moment. It does not flicker for your real eye. And then the infotainment system. There we go. Maybe Leah can close the door,
yeah,
so we don't have reflections from the side. So here, now it's not closed again. It's not probably closed. Now it's closed and the whole car has been shaken. Thank you. So here we go. Classic menu structure. I think this is a rather easy way. And just very important always to deactivate one of the most annoying feature Audi has ever invented, is like in display. And then here MMI, touchscreen feedback. So when you would activate this one here, then for everything you click here, like a normal click is not enough. You really have like bang, bang, you know, like it's so ridiculous. So I have no idea why someone would do that, because you're used from your smartphone that you just click something and that's it, you know. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is always there, so most of the time you would use that. And here the drive select can also be pressed down below here. And then you can switch through the different driving modes. Rear seats, first of all, the doors, also somewhat dampened here on the top part. The carbon fiber decal element, the microfiber, however, no cover line at the inside of the doors. Optional Bang & Olufsen sound system. It's good, it's really good, enjoying it. There may be some more spectacular systems on the market, but definitely the best one for this vehicle here, and yeah, you will enjoy the music. And then here, you know that this one is available as a 5-seater or as a 7-seater with a third seating row. And of course, both works, let's say. And here, the legroom, as I have in the normal version here. There we go, enough legroom left. And then headroom is also no problem. There are also versions with a panoramic roof available, but you will still, even as a tall adult, have enough headroom. So I'm 1.89 meters, 6'2", you remember that. Then here's actually quite nice that we have the microfiber cover also on the inside part here, and then I can fold this open with an interesting mechanism here. There we go. And then we have another cup holder here, which is for tiny, tiny, tiny bottles.
It's very high.
It's kind of high, yeah, but it's really for, let's say, children's bottles.
You can maybe sit.
Yeah, yeah. The smallest children can sit underneath it. And what's also cool is there also the front seat? Let's see. No, not on the front seat, but here 1, 2, 3 Isofix. So that's good that they also thought about the Isofix here on the middle seat, because this vehicle is also frequently bought by families. And here can also change the seat here forward and backward. So with every one singularly, there we go. That's a nice sound, right? When I'm not like lifting it completely up, but let it a little bit down this lever and then nice.
Like a roller coaster.
Yeah, like a roller coaster indeed. And then I can also change the angle or the inclination of the seat right here, more sleeping position. And this is really flexible, you know, like the I can do it from here to here. That looks really funny on camera, doesn't it? So a lot of space here, the most versatile Audi actually, I have to say. And yeah, even show you some more features from the trunk. As I said, today the 5-seater version here. And here we also have a climate unit with clicking sounds. It is digital, but it also has these clicking sounds here. And I mean, USB, there we go. USB-C chargers here. This was updated now with the facelift. And then you might wonder, wait a minute. Everything I'm showing you today, yeah, it's very interesting, really nice. But what has really changed actually in the interior for the facelift? And wait for it. There we go. A new visualization in the digital instruments of the vehicle, better quality, and also, look at that. I'm using the turning indicator and it shows it in the screen. This is amazing. It's incredible. It's the most awesome feature I've ever seen in my life. Well, honestly, I think it's really quite cool. But yeah, I mean, when this is the most thing that has changed in the interior facelift, you know that they didn't spend too much money on that. Leah also wants to show you her reaction on this major interior facelift change. And not to forget, well, it's more an exterior feature. Oh, there's a cool mirroring of Leah there with her sunglasses. So here, this is more an exterior feature, but this also reflects on the interior here, that you can pick the individual light signatures on the exterior here from the infotainment. Got the trunk. Massive rear hatch. Look at that. Also, this area, you know, where the lights are and so on. And here we go. Fits also in a vertical way. This top cover here automatically goes up and down. Cool feature. The overall length is 2 meters or 78 inches, and just like the normal length here of the trunk is like 1 meters and 10 or 44 inches, and the same also goes here for the width approximately. And here underneath you can remove this. Yeah, thank you. Here, some more space underneath. A replacement tire would theoretically also fit. And the question is, of course, if you have the 5-seater or the 7-seater. In this case, as I'm showing to you, this is the 5-seater. Here, folded the seats is like a single split, so you can individually fold them. When you have secured them down there, then you have to also pull the strap again, that you can actually put them up again. And what's also interesting here on this side, on both outside sides, I can pull this one here to fold it up and then have like space here. But the reason for that is rather the entry to the third seating row if you have a 7-seater.
Dynamic mode. Okay.
Woo, crazy!
Yeah, that was 250 kilometers an hour.
Feels like 100.
Feels
really.
like nothing.
Was so silent.
Yeah. So I just want to, because I saw like way ahead some cars probably reduce the speed now, and now when you're driving like 140 kilometers an hour, like 80, 90 miles an hour, it's like standing still. Wow. And I mean, we are in a really, really large SUV. Really large and heavy and everything, and you hardly feel that. Here in the dynamic mode, adaptive air suspension is being set on a sportier note, and we also have the 21-inch wheels on this one here. And yeah, they are notably stiff. So if you want more comfort, you would stick with the 20-inch wheels, with the standard wheel size for this, at least in Europe. Not sure if, I've got to check the US build configurator if they already start with larger wheels. That's sometimes the case. Yeah, but I mean, when you go for the SQ7, you also want some sportiness. However, for the best comfort, really, you would put the air suspension in the comfort mode and then go a wheel size lower than that. When the road is all even, it's all the way fine, but some potholes and so on, you do feel then. Well, but then the good thing is, it doesn't lean at all, so when you're going right and left and so on, you cannot shake up this vehicle, although it has this this high weight. And the steering feeling is really perfect. It's a great size. Here, very fine, small commands are directly transported onto the road. At the same time, to the outsides, you have such a great feeling of the vehicle, and usually have that only with way smaller vehicles, that you have such a great feeling for it. Of course, when you are once up to speed, like we did just now, I was really early on the brakes then, because if you're really at high speed with that driving cupboard, you have a very long braking distance. So you have to bear that in mind, and shouldn't drive that quickly. Actually, I usually also don't drive that fast, just for now, for testing purposes. I drive fast, yes, but usually not that fast. That's the thing. Right, Leah? Thank you for nodding in an acknowledging way. Sometimes. Yeah, I mean, here, when we go, to switch back the modes is not the most convenient way, I have to say. Comfort mode, now the suspension is being raised, and then we have a little bit more forgiving support from it. Yeah, you know what that sign means, guys. That means back to the dynamic mode. How it hammers in. Easily up to 200 kilometers an hour again, 125 miles an hour. Wow. I mean, this V8 is delivering big time, and it doesn't create the most extreme noise, actually, but like here in the interior, it's not exaggerated, but you have it's a very satisfying feeling still, definitely. And the whole driving dynamics here, the quattro all-wheel drive, slightly rear-wheel biased. Here's also this additional pack that we have, the differential at the rear. Oh, there's a Ferrari coming from the rear. Doing a race with a McLaren, or what is this? Interesting. We can join this race. I mean, we are capable. So you remember 507 horsepower from this 5 meters 07 length. And also about 4 seconds in the acceleration figure from 0. But you see, even if we are at speeds, we still have really good acceleration. And oh yeah,
I think it's a Lotus. Yeah, nice race, guys. I think they are switching the motorways now. Yeah, I mean, and here at 180 kilometers an hour, I don't even have to raise my voice. I'm so relaxed, although we are such high speeds. It is a superb noise installation, and yeah, definitely one of the most silent SUVs out there. This is also equipped with the additional noise installation package, considering the total price of that vehicle here. I think it was like 500 euros extra or something like that, so not too expensive, considering other expensive options and so on. But it really does the job. It's so extremely silent and relaxing here. At the same time, you have all this abundance of power. We've been talking about the new things in the vehicle and the facelift, and yeah, shown you that as an overlay earlier. Like this. The second one was a Corvette actually. So first was the Lotus, second one was a Corvette. So here we have this assistance systems view in the middle part. You can also go back to the comfort mode. And it's not only showing me these nice visualizations of turning indicators and so on, but also the visualization of other vehicles, like other assistance views, you know, maybe also from Tesla. And it's also showing me visualizations of...
Right lane.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Leah has to take a look at the GPS. That's a good sharing of... I'm talking about the car, Leah is checking the GPS, thank you. Yeah, back to this visualization thing. So it's also showing me if there's not enough distance, for example, to the car in front of me. So this is like an additional visualization help. But once again, the changes on the interior are kind of limited. You really feel they didn't want to spend too much money on this vehicle. And the thing is, it is also almost perfect for what it does, you know. Yeah, the V8, of course, consumes a lot of fuel. If you drive it in the most efficient way, like 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, motorway, cruise control, you can score some 11, 12 liters on 100 kilometers. That's some like 20 something mpg US, 23 something mpg UK. That's the most efficient way. When you then use all the power, for example, yeah, that raises a couple of liters, but even more, I mean, this really high speed doesn't raise as much as you would be driving short circuits in the city. So city driving then, when you have predominantly city driving, not motorway and so on, this can go up even to 16 liters on 1 kilometer, so something way below 20 mpg, like maybe like 3, 4, 5 mpg less. So it is one of the most fuel consuming engine that the German automotive industry can offer to you. That has to be said, definitely. So the 3-liter 6-cylinder here in the Audi Q7 and the Audi Q8 also does a nice job for sure. So if you want maybe a better compromise out of that. Here once again, when I'm talking about the assistance systems, I have this elaborated view now in the digital instruments, and the car can also keep me in the lane. And it's a very sophisticated system. They also updated that. Distance in the front, and also here active keeping on the side. And you see there are no hectic movements or reactions from the steering wheel. Everything of this vehicle in driving feels so extremely flawless, you know. And you see also this active steering movement is not, let's say, tuned in a way that it's overreacting or guiding you too much. This is an assistance system that is, let's say, rather tuned on, I want you still rather to drive the car yourself, you know what I mean? And some newer assistance systems, they react in such a harsh way that you feel like, okay, well, this car is rather meant for semi-autonomous driving than really for driving yourself. And here, lane change is so much fun, and yeah, hardly ever it's possible to drive such a large SUV and have so much fun. And yeah, you know, it's sharing the genes with the Porsche Cayenne, and here in the S version, in Audi SQ8, Audi SQ7, they feel pretty much Porsche Cayenne alike, definitely. And yeah, this whole platform here being used for so many vehicles, BMW Touareg as well, and Bentley Bentayga, they're using these synergies for this very platform. It's not the newest platform, but does so many things so well. Yes, I would wish for more animal-free interior. That's definitely also due to this, you know, older philosophy they have in this vehicle. So some newer things are missing, yes, but at the same time,
a lot of these old traditional values they put in here. German engineering, this is where you can still feel it at its best. And I really have to say, maybe more so than in some of the all new models we've recently seen with Audi. So I really hope that they take some of the experience from this one here and carry it over to the new models, because so many things are, I mean, this is like a perfect Autobahn SUV, definitely. And hey, at the same time, you can also get it as a 7-seater and use it for the family.
Pricing, Q7 starts $60,000 Northern American market, 90,000 then for the SQ7. And on the European market, for example, Germany as an example, you start at 80,000 euros or then 112,000 euros here for the SQ7, including all the options we've shown you here today. As it stands here right now, 137,000 euros. That's of course pretty hefty then from the price. Overall, we have to say that, yeah, some changes here with the facelift. I mean, this playing with the light, why not? I mean, if you like that, I don't find any harm with that. But I do miss the S badge in the front grille and also this new badging design on the rear. I think the initial S design for the grille and for the rear is just better. When you buy an S vehicle, you want it actually to be seen as well, and also just for yourself, isn't it? Tell me in the comments. And then, however, I found, I mean, it's an amazing SUV, definitely. The ride could be for some maybe too stiff if you go for the 21-inch wheels or even 22. So 20-inch wheels would be better for the riding comfort. Yeah, but then you have to say, when you look at the all-new Audi models, so this vehicle here, also from the inside build quality and so on, has a lot of very solid elements you just enjoy, and also how the infotainment system is being built in, maybe some less black piano lacquer, but I feel that for some elements Audi went actually a step back with the all new models. So maybe at some point it can be good to take a look at like this model here, like from an older generation, although it has been like a little bit freshed up now, not too many changes on the interior as I told you. And then maybe to take a step back and see, hey, how can we combine like some new features and take good existing features? You know what I mean? What's your opinion on that? Tell me in the comments. It's time to take a detailed look and drive the updated BMW X5. Is it actually better than its competitors? And what has changed with this facelift? Let's find out together with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen and full length. Let's go here with the updated BMW double kidney. A massive stance. Yeah, it has become bigger and bigger, but I think that way it still fits to the vehicle. It's not like this mono kidney we know from the iX or something. The X-Line would be base now. They lifted the standard equipment. X-Line has bright accentuations in the lower part. This is here the optional M Sport Pack. So we have black accentuations in the sportier styling. And if you would go for the M Sport Package Pro, then also the whole double kidney with frame and the fins here would be all blacked out. But I think that way it looks a little bit more elegant. Updated also with the headlamps, new signature in this arrow styling. And if you activate the turning indicators, then it has this pulsing effect, looks very interesting. Also on the light side new. Before it was only with the X6, now also the X5 gets the optional iconic glow, the illuminated double kidney. Even while driving, it shines from the top part down then like a light waterfall. The length at 4 meters 94 or 194 inches, that has remained the same. New wheel stylings from 19 to 22 inch. These here are already 21 inch wheels, already in this M style, pretty massive. And the M Sport Package here visible at the side and with these black accentuations. Graphite Grey is the color for today actually. As for suspension technology, the adaptive suspension is standard, and for most cases this will be totally fine. If you have the M Sport Pack, then this suspension is set a little bit stiffer, and you can get it even stiffer, some like that, yeah, in the adaptive M Suspension Professional. That is then also combined with more technology like a rear axle differential. You have rear axle steering, anti-tilt control and so on, everything in one pack. However, this rear axle steering you can also get separately, like this vehicle has here. And then the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction than the front wheels, between 3 and 4 degrees, massively reducing the turning circle. And with this facelift here, they did an update that the rear axle steering reacts earlier at very, very slow speeds. Not at standstill, like we know from Mercedes. They don't do it here because say it applies too much force to moving parts and it wouldn't be good for long-term durability. But as long as you move really, really slowly when parking in and out, then it reacts earlier now to make it even easier for you for the whole parking process and so on. And then there's the optional air suspension. You would go for that one if you want the widest span between comfort and sportiness. That is standard, by the way, for the plug-in hybrid model. In the rear, the facelift adds new lamp design for the rear LED, and it forms this X when you take left and right side together. Overall, a very clean rear design. You have the 6-cylinder plug-in hybrid here today, and then fake exhaust police, Autogefühl fake exhaust police, because the outer tip is fake, real exhaust on the inside. It always depends on the engine and so on. It goes through, but yeah, what's your take on that? And two more differences between the M Sport and the X line. In the M Sport pack, we have the wheel arches in vehicle color, and also the lower bumper is in vehicle color, whereas in the X line, once again, we would have a gray or silver contrast at the rear, as well as these more classic off-road plastic wheel arches. And the updated turning indicators or hazard lights also get this pulsing effect now, a little bit more spectacular. By the way, sorry for the massive wind here today. You can maybe see it with my hair or with the trees and so on. I hope it's still okay from the sound quality for you. This vehicle is equipped with the M Sport pack, so you also get the M colors at the key fob. Then vehicle door closing sound. That's great. Really solid door closing sound, I like that. Then inside of the doors, also very well built from the whole interior build quality. This is indeed very convincing. It's also a well-developed vehicle meanwhile. M Sportback also gets the M steering wheel. That one is not yet available with any leather alternative. And you already see these two screens there. New digital cockpit layout, soon more to that. These are the comfort seats. You either have sport seats or comfort seats. The comfort seats are a little bit wider and indeed offer more comfort. And this special stitching here is always when it comes with the sensor fin. That is now standard. This is like a very highly elaborated leatherette, so no animal material on the seat, and it is really soft and comfortable. So I can just recommend that. You just have something to gain from that. So well done. Different colors are available, also bright styling, for example. Then 189 or 6'2". There's a lot of headroom left. You also either have a manual steering control, or in this case here we also have the electric one. So for tall adults, no problem at all. It's one of the most comfortable SUVs out there, especially here with the comfort seats. Many new vehicles go for cost savings nowadays. This one doesn't. Look at that. Here, when this small cubby hole with this opening falls down this compartment, super softly dampened, and also when you close it, a very nice resonating closing sound. Interior cockpit overview. With this facelift here, pro and con, it looks cleaner, it is cleaner. 12.3 inch, 14.9 inch, curved display, 1 unit. It looks cool, but you miss the manual climate knobs here for plus and minus. You still have the vent control here, yes, but to control the temperature, you have to plus minus that here. Okay, 2 plus or 2 minus something? That's interesting English for me, yeah. Whatever, you understood what I meant. For the vent strength, then you have to go into the climate menu. So that is the downside to me. However, this BMW OS 8, or to be exact, OS 8.5 it is now, has, for example, an advantage. Apple Maps in Apple CarPlay can also be displayed here on the left side. It would also work with Google Maps here when you have an Android phone, and then Google Maps here. When I use Google Maps here, I can also show that to you. Google Maps then here on the right side with CarPlay. That's interesting. Now I have Google Maps on the right and Apple Maps on the left. Wow. That's an interesting finding for today. Okay, yeah, that's live on Autogefühl indeed. This OS 8.5 has a new home screen. What they, for example, did is they made it easier for you to switch to the CarPlay and so on. Like here you have different possibilities, different hotkeys. Most actually directs you then to CarPlay or Maps and so on. So I think that's also what most people are using. And the climate unit here up close, this is also newly designed. There you can go for the vent strength and change some more of the other settings. And seat heating and the heated steering wheel is hidden here. What I appreciate is still real buttons at the steering wheel. Also the volume knob is still manual. Of course you can also get a head-up display. And look at that, 3/4 of the battery is full and says 76 kilometers, so a little bit less than 100 kilometers or 60 miles when the battery is completely full is somewhat realistic. And even more impressive, the overall range then close to 1,000 kilometers or 600 miles when everything is full, fuel and battery. A nice way to reduce high gloss black is here the carbon fiber deco element. You slide this open, cup holders adaptive, also cooled and heated, that's fancy. And then the inductive charging pad, yeah, that gets too hot actually because there's no cooling function for that. They did not do that with that facelift. And here in this middle console, you still have this control knob for the infotainment system that you do not have to use touch. However, this new shifting lever that looks cleaner and is just flatter in the integration has the downside that it doesn't have this typical BMW sporty shifting lever. And if you have the air suspension, you can also manually set the level then here when you, for example, go off-road driving or something, or want to lower the car for loading in and out. And you now have the ambient lighting integration right here. That looks pretty fancy, I like that. You can also, of course, change the colors. Yeah, whatever you prefer. Dim it for night driving or not. I usually have it all the way bright also while driving at night. What do you think about this? Rear compartment, also solid build quality at the rear doors, here with soft touch and so on. And then, well, this is one of the drawbacks here. When you think about this X1 review recently again, it has the same legroom like an X1. And you wonder about the package. Yeah, it's because you also can fit so big engines there in the front. However, it is sufficient for 5 tall adults. So even here on the middle seat, it works. It's a little bit stiffer than overall, but even height-wise, it's no problem at all. So it does indeed house 5 tall adults. The X5, by the way, also offers the third seating row for a 7-seater option. If it makes so much sense in an X5, maybe as emergency seats. However, it's not available for the plug-in hybrid here as for space reasons. Then you can also fold down this armrest and then you, for example, have some cup holders here. They're also somewhat adaptive. As for the trunk, special to the X5 is always this split hatch that you have the additional lower hatch. Manual cover on top. Well, this lower hatch is cool for picnic sessions here. You can even, sit down together here with 2 people, so it's no problem as for the weight. The only disadvantage would be for the button here when you stand in front of it, and you can actually hit the button easily with your leg here. So when you're standing like this, see? I just hit it then with my leg. That can happen unintentionally, and when you then have your picnic equipment all the way distributed here, that might end not so good. Well, but then it's nice dimensions, over 1.40 meters in width, a little bit less than 1.40 meters in length, and the height is about 80 centimeters or 30 inches. Folding the seats is not that easy from here. They have removed this electric function, so you have to go around. Yeah, but that is then quite easily done. Then you have the full length indeed, but overall a very well usable trunk. Also really nice quality-wise here. This compartment with a gas strut, so that's pretty cool as well build quality. Here, for example, when you have dogs, this additional net. The difference is that here the plug-in hybrid has over 500 liters. The non-plug-in hybrid, pure combustion, has 600 liters, but that's just the compartment underneath. Above here, plug-in hybrid and the normal combustion engines are more or less the same, so no compromise, just that you have to put the charging cable in somewhere if you want to carry it. As for engines, 3-liter inline 6-cylinder petrol and diesel, and the 4.4-liter V8 in the M60i. This one here is the 6-cylinder petrol engine. That is also the base for the plug-in hybrid. You can see it here at the orange cable, so everything that is electrified is always signaled as orange for safety reasons actually, also when you work on the engine and so on. And this one here, really quick in the acceleration figure, is less than 5 seconds, so 4.8 in the German horsepower figure. That's just half a second slower than the V8. because here you have the combined power of the combustion engine and the electric motor that is integrated in the transmission, by the way, so it won't change the all-wheel drive distribution. When you have an all-wheel drive model, which most X5s are, then it still has a rear-wheel bias, and even so in the plug-in hybrid. This one here, the biggest update as for the facelift, because in general all the engines are at least mild hybrid now. And when you go for the plug-in hybrid, this one with a bigger battery now at 26 kilowatt hours net. That also increases the pure electric range, of course, so up to 1 kilometers or 60 miles, a little bit less depending on the situation then. And recharging, yes, you can always press the M logo for that when you have the M Sport Pack. 7.4 kilowatt AC, no DC charging. However, in 4.5 hours with that kind of power, it's already full. This plug-in hybrid is also somewhat of a performance version. Let's put to the Sport mode and also Sport or S shifting mode, getting the boost from both drivetrains, combustion engine and electric drive. Let's go. Plop, that's already 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour. Wow, impressive. I mean, if you think about it, this is just half a second slower than the V8 and half a second quicker than the pure 3-liter inline 6-cylinder. And you still have that base engine under the hood, so you can enjoy this inline 6-cylinder, which is the world famous BMW engine. To me, also one of the best engines out there. When you drive it slowly, not like this. This was an acceleration test. You can also score some 9 liters in 1 kilometers, 28 mpg US, 31 mpg UK, or 26 mpg US, something like that in that region, which is not super low, but definitely okay for this kind of a vehicle. And then, of course, you can always drive pure electric here with the plug-in hybrid with the 50e. This new electric motor has more power, so it's a completely new electric motor. As we've shown to you here, 4.8 seconds is the acceleration figure. And here in that sport mode, you're making use of that also with the red background there. So both powertrains. And you can also go back to the hybrid mode and also from the S to the D shifting mode. Then everything calms down, more silence and so on. So usually we're driving in a normal hybrid mode. And then, for example, here when I hit the brake, combustion engine is shut off. Everything electric, everything silent, and because of the good noise insulation here, you can also get the optional insulation package for that. It's also equipped with that vehicle. It is so super silent here in this vehicle. So when you're standing at the traffic light, it's super windy out there. You heard it earlier, and you hear nothing from that when being on the inside. And this electric driving also fits to this vehicle. So when I'm, like going to some rural traffic, I just start all electric. You have some kind of electric sound, but it's really drawn back. Of course, you also hear it from the outside at really slow speeds. And you can actually, you can also drive higher speeds, pure electric. That is possible just when you pin down. Then, of course, always the combustion engine is being activated. You can also see it here in the instruments in which area you have to stay, that we'd still drive all electric. And if I would exceed that one, then the combustion engine would turned on. It is equipped with the adaptive recuperation, and that means when there's no one in front of me and I leave my foot off the throttle, the car is just rolling, no recuperation at all. If there is a car in front of me, then, and like there's enough distance is actually fine. But if there's a car in front of me and the distance is too close, or here now the car will decelerate, the speed limit changes, then you can see I lift my foot off the throttle, and then here there's adaptive recuperation, so then you don't have to adjust the recuperation level, the car is doing that for you automatically. There's always pro and con arguing that. The con is it's not that predictable, the pro is you don't have to care about recuperation levels, and it's in a way a relaxing feature, because when you don't have to use regenerative braking, you're just rolling, and when it makes sense, then it almost acts like an adaptive cruise control when there's a car in front of you, even without you having set it. So I think overall it's a very intelligent feature to have. And you can see here, even some quick acceleration, pure electric is possible, and you even feel the gear shifts. That is unusual for electric car driving feeling, but the reason is that it sits in the transmission. That's the reason why you always also feel the gear shifts, actually. And as the hybrid mode is laid out, most of the time you will first use all the electric drive, and when that is depleted, then you will also use the combustion engine, unless you have these power moments. And why are they doing that? That the combustion engine gets activated at some point when you pin it down is basically a safety thing. So, for example, I'm getting onto the German Autobahn and I see, oh, I need some more acceleration to get on that quicker and in a more safe way. Then it's actually making sense that I get the combustion engine power when I just pin it down in this panic moment, and then it's actually safer if I enter the motorway quicker or maybe do like an overtaking maneuver. And that's the reason why most manufacturers have this philosophy. That actually it's always available. But it's really fun to drive it also electric. It does fit to the vehicle. Suspension, you will be fine with the normal adaptive suspension if you have a base X5 without being the plug-in hybrid. The adaptive suspension by BMW is great and it's more than enough. I would also not pick it in the sporty trim. Here the air suspension is standard for the plug-in hybrid because of the added weight by the battery. And that's why they said to keep the level of the suspension of the vehicle, it's better when there's also the air suspension support. And at the same time, of course, with the air suspension, it gets a little bit stiffer than also in the sport mode, a little bit softer in the comfort mode. So you have more variety when you have an air suspension. But it's not, I would say, it is a needed feature in the BMW X5 because the adaptive suspension is so good already. Does it feel like a floaty air suspension? I would say no. It's rather set on a sporty note. So when I'm driving it now and someone would tell me, hey, it's a good adaptive suspension and it's no air suspension, I couldn't deny that, So it doesn't feel so floaty air suspension alike, but it feels really good considering we have 21-inch wheels on that one. It's a very comfortable ride indeed. And most of the time you will leave it in the normal hybrid driving mode. Seats here also, long-term comfort is excellent. Here once again the combination, the Sensación high-grade leatherette with the comfort seat. The comfort seat will give you more comfort, especially in the US, for example. It has a higher take rate than the base sport seat. In Germany, the sport seat take rate is a little bit higher. Yeah, some Germans like it stiffer. Yeah. So, and now German motorway here. Once again, just over 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. Now we can drive a little bit quicker. Super silent, very well insulated. So you almost feel like you would be rather in a low seating sedan. As for the noise or NVH comfort, that's also one thing I really like about the X5. You can go miles and miles and miles without getting lower back fatigue or something. And it's still fun, and it's also still sporty. When you do some lane change here to the right, for example, it's really nice. I feel the steering feel is also good. And strangely, the steering feel in the bigger BMW SUVs is better than in a lot of their sporty vehicles. And I still wonder, why is that? I have no idea. So in the X5 has one of the best steering feels in the BMW model portfolio. Should be the other way around. I mean, it should also be good, or all should be good. But yeah, strangely that this is the case then here. By the way, are we still driving electric? No, we can see that here in that, in the power meter. Let's drop it a little bit. See when it does switch back to electric again. There we are. So here. So we will drive 125 kilometers an hour. And if I go a little bit quicker, let's see here. Yeah, now the combustion engine is on. So around 130 kilometers an hour, that's like 70, 80 miles an hour. That is then the threshold for the pure electric driving. And of course, we can drive even quicker. And here now, unlimited speed on the German Autobahn. Let's see. Wow, it's still so silent in here. Can't believe that. 170 kilometers an hour and super stable also on the road. And it doesn't feel like a high, floaty, big SUV. It feels like a sporty sedan, comparing, of course, only if you go to some very narrow corners with high speed, then, of course, you can't deny the fact. The Porsche Cayenne will still be sportier in a way, especially moving through the corners. So in sportiness, this one doesn't attack the Cayenne. Maybe the high-end M versions then, of course. As for the Audi, it has also a nice sporty balanced driving feeling for sure. The BMW X5 feels a little bit more sophisticated as for the luxurious features. The Mercedes GLE, that is meanwhile, the thing is, it's still a nice, very, very vehicle, definitely, but also here the X5 feels like it would be so much more premium than the Mercedes GLE. I really have to say that, especially while driving, the X5 gives you a very sophisticated feeling, and I wouldn't even necessarily go for an X7. They are sharing the same platform. The X7 makes sense for you if you need more space in the back there and making use of the third seating row, for example. There is also the third seating row available for the X5, but I don't think it's that necessary. And yeah, I'm just keeping on my moderation so easily while I'm driving 160 kilometers an hour, so like 100 miles per hour, and it's just so effortless. Here with the upgrade, the facelift upgrade, mild hybrid technology for the normal combustion engines does give you some advantages as for the consumption, but not the super game changer. Here for the plug-in hybrid, of course, one thing we saw initially, just more power from that electric motor, and the other thing is then the upgraded battery, more size, and then yeah, we can really score some good range figures, pure electric, and also together with the combustion engine. So to me, one big advantage of the plug-in hybrid is also this combined range that you just have. What is this here? Okay. There's a nice saying in Germany, especially like the area where I'm from, where, you know, like has some coal mining background, and people used to be, let's say, some, you know, very straightforward people, you know, living there. And then in situations like these, you would say like, Alter, es ist kein Parkplatz hier. Or like, hey dude, this is not a parking lot. So, you know, referring to that, you don't drive so fast on the parking lot, of course. This is still a German Autobahn. You know, you don't have to race. At least you should then pull over to the right when you don't want to drive that fast. Of course, the most important thing is always to keep distance to the car in front of you. Then you can also drive fast. Assistance systems, flawless. I mean, look at that. Here, the lane keeping assist, the active one. Really no hectic movement, but keeps the lane and also really centralized, and just slight movements from the steering wheel. Cruise control, of course, keeps the distance in the car in front of you. Yes, that's also done by the adaptive recuperation assistant. Here, in that case, with the X550e, the plug-in hybrid. And then there's also the active lane changing, and you induce that by hitting the turning indicators, just like tipping it, like this. And then you can see here, car does it itself and gets in the lane, and then the lane change is done. You might also ask yourself, why would you let the car do this? Yeah, it's here, by the way, there's someone behind me. Then I have to do it myself because the car says, hey, that's not enough distance for me. Then I also had this vibration in the steering wheel, and the car was not changing the lane because there was someone approaching from the rear. So actually, very well thought out, very elaborated assistance systems. Also, you feel that this car has been built for a couple of years. And with this facelift, they try to, you know, perfectionize it even more and more. Let's take a look at the updated Audi Q8, because recently Mercedes GLE and BMW X5 have been updated. Can Audi say something about this? What have they done? Let's take a look with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. Here with an upgraded front grille. When you have the S-Line, you have these L forms here in the front grille. Everything with more black design, especially if you have the optional black package, which this vehicle is also equipped with. The standard front grille would have more vertical fins on the inside. Then here the two-dimensional Audi rings. Audi goes for this new CI, corporate identity, basically. Saphir Gold is this new color also. Saphir, this desert around the Bahrain racetrack. And yeah, this was the most fitting shirt I could find for you today. Updated headlamps also. So the logic here is normal LED, then matrix LED, and optional HD matrix LED with laser lights. And the latter ones you all can see here. And even in the front, you can already pick different light designs to individualize your vehicle. Towards the side profile, here the length has been unchanged, 4.99 meters or 196 inches. The Q8, as I said, typical competitor of the X5 or the GLE. Wheels now start already at 20-inch, up to 23-inch. These here are 22-inch wheels, so not the biggest ones, not the smallest one. Let's see how the riding comfort is. In the S-Line here also painted wheel arches. So in the vehicle color, the base version would come still with the contrasting wheel arches. In the black pack, you also have the black mirrors here. Technology-wise, already the standard suspension is an adaptive suspension, so an adaptive steel suspension. Optional, also this vehicle is equipped with it, the adaptive air suspension. Of course, then you have a wider span between comfort and sportiness. And you also get a rear axle steering. Then the rear wheels turn up to 5 degrees in the opposite direction than the front wheels. The SQ8 would also offer an anti-tilt control and a sports differential at the rear. New tail lamp design and also OLEDs here in this lower part. Have you seen that? These are the proximity sensors. In our studio shots where it was a little bit darker, you can even better see that, how it reacts. And even then in the rear, you can once again pick the individual light signature as design. I think it's a cool idea. Yeah, but then again, it's always an option, so the base vehicle won't have that. But the base vehicles will have this top update here also, and also this, this light strip that goes all the way across. Once again, two-dimensional Audi rings. And then in the lower part, the contrast, the Q8 logo here. This one means that is the S-Line, and the SQ8 would just have the added S-dent. So what do you think? Do you like the outgoing model better, or do you like this refresh? And who would have thought that lights one day become a buying or purchase argument for individual brands? Audi wants to stress like, hey, we are the king of lighting, and that's why they also play once again here with these cascading turning indicators, at least in the highest trims. And even fancier it is actually here in the front. Look at that, with this segmented cascading, and a massive success for the Autogefühl Fake Exhaust Police. Thank you so much in the name of the Autogefühl Fake Exhaust Police for supporting it for all these years, because now Audi have switched away from fake exhaust to real exhaust tips once again. Since you also always ask about our locations where we film today, we are really lucky to film outside of Cape Town, so best greetings especially to our South African viewers today. And behind me is so-called Camps Bay. I think this beautiful beach here, so yeah, very fitting to our vehicle color today also. This is the car key here, slim and light, we know that. And look at here, the B-pillar. They have the model naming here now, not to have too many badges on the exterior, so the days of over-badging on the exterior is obviously gone. Then frameless doors with dual installation. Oh. There we go, door closing sound. So you see here, it needs more push actually because of the good installation here. And then it sounds really awesome. That's really rare that a frameless door sounds great. Inside of the door here with microfiber inserts, and I like this galvanization tip here for the window levers, and even they have a clicking sound here when you open or close them. Yeah, these deals I really love. S-Line badge you can already see then in the lower part. So we also have S-Line interior as well as on the steering wheel, perforation at the side. And these seats here are the best ones you can get actually for the Q8 with the microfiber, also with this special structure on the inside. These are the normal sport seats, and I would definitely go for them. But they're still lagging behind, especially in comparison to BMW, who is offering better materials. They're more sustainable, more animal friendly, and also better in the whole feeling and so on. But these ones are actually then the best. And seating comfort here with 189 or 6'2". A lot of headroom left. This is the one without panoramic roof. You can also get one. And you have good ergonomics, full-size SUV position. Yeah, really feeling it, definitely. Interior cockpit overview. The refreshing thing about this update is that it is not all new, because classic user interface here with the volume control, the steering wheel, then also physical controls to control the digital instruments. There we have some news. For example, when I hit the turning indicator, we have this nicer visualization on the inside now. And then we have this split screen. This is the top infotainment screen, and the lower part is for the climate unit. Yes, I do always prefer physical climate dials, but for a digital solution here, it is fairly easy to use. I don't quite get this new menu tile in the software. This looks to me confusing. This here is very obvious, and then you have just, for example, the car features, or you go back to the home menu, and here the Apple CarPlay integration, wired or wireless. And the same goes for Android Auto. An optional Bang & Olufsen sound system. Yeah, I think good sound quality. Not the most super spectacular ever, but actually very decent. In the middle console, I really like this large shifting lever, pretty cool. Then here, adaptive cup holders, very good build quality. And also here, the middle console with this cover, leather red, and then you fold it up and down like this. And here, you have space then for the smartphone connection, now all in USB-C. Well, I did find an issue here with the middle console. Look at that, this large thing here underneath. It is there that it has this, this effect that you can also fold this whole thing up and down a little bit and slide it forward at the same time. But the problem is it's so large down there. When you have your smartphone here in the inductive charging pad, it does overheat because it has no cooling. Then you say, I want to connect it with the cable, and then you connect it like this, for example. And then you have to say like, okay, where is the exact space for my smartphone? Like this, maybe. And then how does it fit when it's modern large smartphone? And when you then would put it down, you would smash your smartphone, or then stuff like this happens. Yeah. No, I'm not farting. It's that the seat is just too close to the middle console and it's squeaking. So either put it far away or add some fabric here on the outside. Rear doors also frameless, and then you have this electric shade you can put up and down just by pressing the window lever one more time. This doesn't go down further, but here I think it's a very nice and elegant solution. When I sit behind the driver's seat when I'm driving, I still have enough legroom left. This platform is pretty cool, and then you can adjust the seating angle like here when you pull this lever. This is also the way you fold it completely down for the trunk, and you can also vary the trunk length like this if you want more trunk length, or here if you want most legroom. Even in the middle part you can sit very well. In comparison to the Q7, it's not too big of a compromise. Of course, the Q7 has a little bit more trunk space and so on. And then possible 7-seater. And here in the middle part, you have a nice climate unit also for the rear. It is somewhat with capacitive BS, but then again, you also have at least some clicking sounds. Let's take a look at the trunk measurements, electric hatch, and then we have a good meter or 40 inches in width, and even a little bit more than a meter or 40 inches in length. Here, you can see I already folded one part. You can also split individually, but you have to do it from the rear. You cannot unfold them here. The only thing you can do is actually lower it for better loading in and out when you have the air suspension. And in the front part here, you have another small hole, for example, but yeah, you could also have a replacement tire there if you like. As for engines, in Europe you still get the 3-liter V6 diesel. This one here, worldwide the most important engine, the 3-liter V6 turbo petrol engine, 55 TFSI, 340 horsepower, 5.6 seconds is the acceleration figure. Standard quattro overdrive, that means an overdrive with a rear wheel bias. If you want it even quicker, then there would be the SQ8 with 4.1 seconds in the acceleration figure, and that is then from this 4-liter V8. Acceleration. Plop, that was 0 to 80 kilometers an hour. Pretty quick, felt nice, also rear biased acceleration from the overdrive. The LIA meter was also active. Thank you for that. There's always really good to give you a sense of speed, especially if you do not feel the G-forces over the video. So here in the dynamic mode, the air suspension is also set a little bit stiffer and have more feedback from the road. And here when the road is very even, that's pretty cool. And we have beautiful roads here with a nice view. The thing is, when the air suspension is stiff here, dynamic mode, and you have the 22-inch wheels mounted, yes, it feels cool and sporty. However, it is then also not the most comfortable experience when you're driving over some bumps. So that always depends then on the road condition. As I said, here is absolutely fine, when it's not destroyed or something. But I feel this setup here, and especially with the bigger wheels, you do lose comfort. So you have to be aware of that. So that is definitely an SUV that does have this sporty focus here. Really nice reaction from the steering wheel here. No dead zone, whatever. So I have a very fine feeling for the car. I like that. So it feels very, very well balanced. The rear axle steering helps me when we're driving slower speeds and so on. And it's also not feeling artificial at all. Very good here also when I'm doing some slalom left and right.
once again, the balance and the feeling for the car, that is what is very, very good. Then assistance systems here on this countryside road, which is even more crucial, because can this vehicle here keep the lane even if it's more in this bend? Here, so far, pretty smooth. Now on the right side, I always keep the control of the vehicle. See here, this one car didn't get. Maybe it's also because one line is yellow, one line is white or something. So yeah, never trust 100% in it. And mainly it's used for Autobahn purposes. But I like to try it also here on countryside lanes, because the very, very good systems also do that then in this case here. It is a good system, yes, but you see, at some point it also has its limits. When you, by the way, want to switch back again here, for example, you can click in the lower part. Not the best selection here to pick the driving modes, or then here like this, click on the screen. Yeah, then here you can go to the comfort mode. In the comfort mode then, some more softness from the suspension then, and also the steering becomes a little bit lighter overall. So this is probably the everyday setting, I would say. It still feels sporty, and I would definitely set the suspension to comfort, because otherwise it just gets too rough in bumpy sections and so on. So to me, the cool thing is always that although it's large and heavy SUV, because of the great balance, it always feels somewhat lighter and easier to control basically. Here we know at really slow speeds I feel more from the rear axle steering, but considering it is in rear axle steering, it feels very natural how it reacts and so on. So I've always loved the driving feeling of the Q8, and the updated version here makes no difference to that actually. Yeah, for me it's always pretty strange, of course, here with the left-hand drive traffic, and in a way even stranger to drive left-hand steering wheel with left-hand traffic. Usually you have the other one, you know, like the right-hand steering with the left-hand traffic and vice versa and so on. But I mean, yeah, after all, you get used to that. It's all adding up to the experience. Changing the temperature, by the way, here while driving is not too bad. So as I said earlier, although it's digital, you can do it actually quite well also while driving. Although physical control always needs no looking at all. Brake feeling also really nice, so you know exactly what you're doing at any time, or when you want to control the volume and so on. I like this classic user interface of the vehicle. You can also use the shifting pedals here to shift down yourself, for example for engine brake when you're going down here for a longer period of time, or if you want some more RPM, and then you can directly accelerate it out. Yeah, sound-wise I have to say, rather step downwards, but you know, with these new days particle filters, which are also great to keep the particles in, sound has been decreased. Again, for the US versions this will then be a little bit different. So if I could suggest something, I think although it has air suspension, sometimes in potholes too rough. So what can you do against it? I mean, even if you're in a comfort mode here, the only thing you could actually do is pick smaller wheels. Not even the biggest one on this one here, but I think 20 or 21 inches maybe then the best compromise, that you have some cool look still, but you just have a little bit more driving comfort. So my driving impressions here from Chapman's Peak Drive. If you are in the Cape Town area at some point, you should take this road, one of the most beautiful roads in the world, definitely. And here it's more about enjoying the scenic views, and the view outside the vehicle, from the inside to the outside, is actually pretty decent. So I have a good feeling of where the car is ending at every side, and that's not the same with all new vehicles, that you exactly know, have a feeling for the dimensions. But even if you look to the rear there and so on, or to the back mirror, there's no problem at all. And that also shows that the Q8, among these, there's like almost SUV coupe segment, the X6 would of course also be a competitor, or the GLE coupe. The Q8 sits somewhat in between, I would say, but these true coupe silhouette SUVs, they have less overview than when you're sitting on the inside, but that's actually fine here with the Q8. Here also, when the bends are a little bit tighter, rear axle steering is helping me. It's also, by the way, a factor for parking in and out. Maybe you've heard that, just like there was a bump in the road. That's what I meant. You know, when I have an air suspension, I just want a little bit more comfort out of the vehicle. Yeah, but that's the only thing I can really criticize here. Yeah, and probably also the fuel economy. So we will drive it a longer period of time. But it really seems to be that although it's mild hybrid system here now for the 6 cylinders, the 8 cylinder does not have that. And although the, it's not like the most fuel consuming engine of all time. And I know this engine for a very long time, but here, obviously also when the AC has to work a lot, the consumption seems to go quite high. And we'll put it in the video description and in the comment below, in the pinned comment, and then tell you more about that. By the way, instead of choosing the driving modes, which sometimes can be complicated, you can just always pull the shifting lever here to the S shifting mode. Then you have a nicer acceleration immediately. That's actually pretty cool. And it's also an easy and quick way to, be a little bit more spontaneous with it and always pull it back. Also the sound feedback it gives you, right? And of course also clicking sounds and so on. Yeah, that brings me back to one of the crucial points, that the user interface is still really good and you know exactly always what you are doing.
Today we're driving the all-new BMW X3. Is it now the best mid-size SUV? We're going to find out with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with, first of all, let's say base to mid trim. Later on also then the M Sport version, specifically the M50, the top petrol engine so far from the new generation. Later maybe more things to come. But starting here with the version that most people will actually get is this rather brighter look from the double kidney. Huge double kidney indeed. Then a rather closed look. It opens then on demand when there is cooling needed. And you can also get the optional illuminated double kidney. I think it looks really elegant and it works together well with these Tanzanite blue color, a dark blue. A Thomas blue, what we call here in Autogefühl, would be a brighter one actually. The headlamps here, matrix LED with the blue accentuations. And then also I really prefer this bright accentuation look. This is the base look indeed. So it will always look like this unless you go for the M Sport pack or you get an M50, and we'll later on check this one out for you in detail, how it looks different if you more want this menacing sport look or if you rather want this. And here then you can also see the bright contrast in the lower part around the windows. This also feels really nicely. Build quality on the outside is good. And you now have, so to speak, a more monolithic style. You don't have crossover wheel arches and so on. They try to minimize the design elements on the exterior. Then up to 21-inch wheels. These here are the 20-inch wheels. Although already look quite big, and maybe bigger is not that good for comfort. Base wheels would be 18-inch and it's 4.76 m or 187 inches then in the total length. That's a tiny bit longer than the outgoing version. I think from the exterior wise it works very well. Or what do you think? It has split a lot of opinions, is polarizing, but I think this more monolithic look does suit the vehicle. Then the tail lamps are really large at the side, get a little bit slimmer than to the rear. Modern three-dimensional structure and once again not too many design lines. This one and here X320, they remove the I from the petrol engines because they don't want to get it confused with the all-electric models, for example. And so this one is a pure petrol engine, soon more to the engines and so on. Towing is either 1.5 tons for the plug-in or 2 tons then for the pure combustion engine models. And well, when we talk about the engines, follow me to the front. Let's get some clarification on that. Door closing sound already, by the way. It's really solid on the front part and also nice on the rear part. And you can see also that the door handles fold up to put up the hood. There we go, once, twice. With BMW it's always that you just pull it twice, and I think it's an easy system, so to speak, because you don't have to search anything in the front here. Nice how it's cut out here. And then there we go, this is a 2-liter 4-cylinder petrol engine. This will be then the base version. Different horsepower specs are available. The exact specs, what we have so far, are then in the pinned comment, also in the video description. The US version will already start with a little bit higher horsepower spec as the 30 X330. You have 2-liter 4-cylinder petrol, 2-liter 4-cylinder diesel and 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol would be the M50. and also a 3-liter 6-cylinder diesel will be coming up later. The petrol plug-in hybrid is based here on the 2-liter 4-cylinder and will of course be very important if you want some electric commuting locally or something, or if it has some tax benefits. And it has massively grown then in the battery size. That is the most important thing about the plug-in hybrid. Nice silver contrast here in the lower part, and towing is either 2 tons for the plug-in hybrid version or 2.5 tons for the pure combustion engine versions. Next to the base suspension, M Sportback or the M50 is then of course a sportier suspension. You can also order an adaptive suspension. We also drive it for you here today, and in the M50 it's an adaptive M suspension then with a sportier setup. And the turning indicators appear right there in the middle. That looks pretty fancy, doesn't it? And in the front they replaced the daytime running light. Yeah, I think light design wise, this all looks pretty stunning. Or what do you think? And how does the X3 look like with an M Sportback, or if you go for the M50, exactly like this? Here more blacked out is also the M Sportback Pro. Here all the way closed, M logo, black accentuations in the lower part, sporty look overall here once again with the illuminated kidney, which really looks cool when we are here under this bridge, protected from the rain. These are also 20-inch wheels in this M styling, so also a pretty cool look. And once again this monolithic design here at the side profile, no contrasting wheel arches or whatever. Here we also have the frames here all the way blacked out. And also in the rear, it continues in a sportier way. And the Autogefühl fake exhaust police was successful, because with the all-new BMW X3, there is either no visible exhaust, it's underneath. Only the sport model, the M50 here, gets the visible exhaust pipes, and they also have a function, and 1, 2, 3, 4, together with this strong diffuser style here in the lower parts. So tell me in the comments, would you go for an M50 model, or would you rather go for the base look? And this here is the M50, the 3-liter 6-cylinder engine, the famous one, inline 6-cylinder by BMW. Almost 400 horsepower, a little bit below that, 4.6 seconds in the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers an hour, or 4.4 seconds to 60 miles an hour. It's also a mild hybrid system, so all the engines are coming with a mild hybrid system now. And then there's also the plug-in hybrid, of course. And where do you get your car from depends on the engine. The M50 is always built in Spartanburg in the US. If you go for a plug-in hybrid, you always get one from the Rosslyn plant in South Africa. If you go for a smaller petrol engine or for the diesel, it depends. Some are built there, some are there. Then you don't really know before from which plant do you get one actually. Driver POV. This is here the animal-free steering in this modern form, and the material quality is really good, soft, yeah, well done. And then here you can control steering wheel. It's like a mix of real buttons and yeah, this one field for the volume here, for example. Here you can control things in the digital instruments that look like this actually, and shifting pedals are also available. What's pretty cool is always like the turning indicator just sounds awesome when you like put it in with some force right there. When you start up the vehicle, then the digital instruments also change to like that. And we can also check out the head-up display. There we go. Now it's more in focus actually. So, and there you can also adjust the styles and so on. Here, pretty cool integration of the ambient lighting. That looks fancy. This is here a field actually, 2 smartphones, 2 times USB-C charging, but the inductive charging is just on the left side. And when the phone is charging here, see that? This ambient lighting signalizes, hey, phone is charging. That's a very nice effect. The climate unit is all the way then here in the screen. So plus and minus is here. Yeah, I do prefer the physical tiles, so I hate it that they removed that actually. There's like the in-depth climate menu. Other than that, you have this app view, which is always a little bit overload, I feel. Apple CarPlay and Auto, both wireless, but wireless only. You cannot connect with the cable. You can connect wireless and then charge with the cable. That will be possible. And the home screen, for example, and also here either the map, or there's also like a different home view available, whatever you want to configure it to. So the good thing is that the hardware behind it and the software itself is very reliable. Then the cup holders look really fancy and they are also adaptive, X3 lettering. And then here, clicking sound, this is like this glass crystalline style manual volume jog, and this then the shifting lever. This in reverse in the front. My modes, you click here then to change the driving modes. I think it's always a little bit complicated in these new BMWs because you click down there, then you have to click here. How often will you do that while driving? Oh, nice. Yeah, switching to sport mode. Yeah, wait a minute. Let's go to we can do to efficient mode. Ooh, that's cool. It has different effects on different fields. So when I, for example, change, let's say to digital art, it changes here. And also let's go back to sport mode again, because this is like this red scheme. There we go, and it runs from the side and then to the middle. Yeah, this is a really nice effect, you know, and they had some catching up to do with Mercedes, who have been like all over with ambient lighting. So BMW said like, oh, we also want to do something with that. And another effect is, let's say I'm here on the relax mood. So, interesting. Now the panoramic roof shade is closing. This is a fixed panoramic roof with the glass, but you can apply a real shade. That's at least good. So it's better as if there would be no shade or something like that, but you cannot open it. So here, look at that, relaxed mood, this is this color scheme. And now when I hit the turning indicators, hazard lights, there we go. Then you also have this flashing on the inside. So it's only for the hazard lights, not when you hit the turning indicator. That's, yeah, was just mispronouncing that. So here once again with the hazard lights, very cool effect, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, why not? You might say this is like a useless feature, but when you create some emotional feature in vehicles, something that is special, it always gives you something, you know. And they now, by the way, so when we were in the studio, it wasn't working yet because of a pre-production vehicle, but we can now actually show you how the memory seating works and the control of the side vents here. And this is like this hashtag capacitive PS field, but it works very reliable, let's say. And they also have this printing on top, so you feel something. And then you can, this is like more vent, more fan speed. This had less fan speed. And then this area here on the passenger side, you cannot like press in something.
And here's the door handle.
Yeah, door handle is hidden right here. And on the driver's side here, you set, and then you can click it here for the memory function. This whole field here moves, and this is also where you open or close the vehicle. Ooh, honestly, not a big fan of that one. Here the door handles, flush, integrated, but you can still grab underneath, and then they give you like a real feedback. Also decent door closing sounds. There we go. And then this is here the M50 model. Has a different darker interior styling than in this case. However, here it's all hardpack, so that's not my favorite, honestly. And mid-lighting integration is already here. You can see different colors. We'll also play around with that a little bit more. And here you can see this vent control here. This for this here actually, for this vent. So yeah, maybe a little bit over the top, I don't know. Then the steering wheel, this is here the M steering wheel. This is then with animal source. However, the base steering wheel, the animal-free one, not only because I like animals, I really have to say, this one here is harder. The base steering wheel is plusher. It feels softer, not only on the surface, but also underneath. It has like a thicker dampening. And then here, the seats. These are the Veganza seats, also a high-grade leatherette. The other model had the fabric seats with 100% recycling. And these ones are also very soft. They're also perforated. And both are actually good in comfort. And talk to Leah about that. So comfort-wise, I would prefer the fabric seats. Leah prefers here the leatherette seats. So it really depends on personal preference. These ones you can maybe wipe clean easier. The other ones have a better passive cooling. So it's all pro and con. And then the headroom here, by the way, also here, yeah, a lot of headroom left with 189. Although this one here is once again opened here with the panoramic roof. You have in general a darker atmosphere here than when you have the M Sport package, and here also with the dark dashboard and so on. But of course the main difference is the steering wheel between the base model and the M Sport pack. And we have here the M button next to the cup holders. And we can, of course, here also change to the sport mode, and you can see here this animation. There we go. Now Leah will show us the different ambient lightings when you have the custom settings. It does not work when you are in the sport mode, for example. You have to go to the personal mode, and then the vehicle allows you to individualize the ambient lighting color. Yeah, that's the Leah color.
What is your favorite color?
What did you say? Sorry, the microphone.
What is your favorite color?
Yeah.
Of course, Thomas Blue.
That's mine. Yeah,
That's mine.
and that's
Oh,
Leah's.
that's so cute.
Rear seats here, soft and plush on the top part, then hardpack just in the lower one, but overall a good build quality. And also here from the seats, it feels really nice. And when you open and close things, like here, pull this one down, adaptive cup holders, and also the ski hatch here, like this. Everything is really solid. Then in the lower part, big humpy in the middle tunnel, separate client unit for the rear. This all where I touch though, 2 USB-C chargers. And now comes the big but. The legroom. So this seat is I would be driving. Not everyone is as tall as me, but then there is not much legroom left here behind the seats. Yes, of course, I always drive with steering wheel all the way out. They have a comfortable seating position, but here not too much rear legroom. That's the thing here about the vehicle. Then headroom, this no problem here to the glass roof. A lot would be a little bit less if the shade is actually closed then. Trunk or boot, 570 liters, at least in the pure combustion engine models. The plug-in hybrid will lose a little bit underneath the cover in liter figure. And then here you have a massive top cover. There we go. And you slide it back like this. Cabin trolley also fits in a vertical way underneath, no problem. And then the basic measurements here between the wheel arches. You see here, this is really good. So this is here 1.10 meters or 44 inches, or 43, 44 inches. And then here the length is, I mean, it does close probably here or something, so a little bit less than 1 meter or 40 inches. Underneath, you can put this one here up, and then you can see here in the pure combustion engine model, you have more space underneath, or for example, a replacement tire would also fit there. So that would work. Then you can pull back like this. You see another splitter of the trunk. And I can also reach over here because I cannot remotely unlock the seats. So that is missing, I think. There we go. One. I can also here individually just fold the middle part, or then here. There we go. Overall well usable. And so to the seats as we are driving right here. This is 1.56 meters or 56 inches. That's easy to remember. And the height, of course, always very important here. That is really good. So this is like 74 centimeters or 28 inches. And since the hatch is attached right here, and look at these cutouts, so how wide the trunk is also in the upper areas. That is actually well done.
Woo!
Oh, that is 100 kilometers an hour with a 2-liter 4-cylinder. Not too bad. The official figure is just under 8 seconds. The US version, the entry-level 30, X330 would be then even a little bit quicker. But of course, basically the very same engine we have there, just with different horsepower tune. So considering this the base engine, I think more than enough power, I have to say. Even the Leah meter went off there.
Yeah.
Not bad. Of course, probably also because of the flying luggage in the rear, that maybe also triggers a little bit there. And it really feels like a completely different vehicle now, especially because of the different interior and the different steering wheel and so on. And we'll start here with some agile driving here in these corners, and the steering feel is actually quite nice, so it doesn't have a dead zone area, yet it also doesn't get any extreme to the sides. Nice to hammer in the turning indicator, red together with blue M colors. Then here in the ambient lighting, when we are in that sport mode, we have a little bit more throttle delivery, basically power delivery. Also here the RPMs are turned higher. With the S shifting mode, I could even pronounce that further. It's not always useful also to use the S shifting mode. It makes sense when you have a lot of like winding corners, back and forth movement and so on. Other than that, you can as well also just let it on the normal D driving mode and mainly control over the sport mode. Or then if you don't want to change the driving modes,
there in the screen because it's too complicated, and it is complicated while driving, then, for example, just use the shifting lever here and then only go to the S shifting mode. So different things you can do with this car or not. Yeah, it's always so cool to hammer in the shifter here. We have the adaptive suspension set now on the sporty tone. In the Sportman, you do feel that. So it is, considering this is, you know, like mid-size SUV, it feels kind of rough in the sport mode. Definitely pronounced the sportiness. Together also with 20-inch wheels, you can get more comfort if you have smaller wheels, of course. And interesting, what isn't? Well, the Tesla would have been quick enough to make the acceleration, right?
There's a car in front of him.
Okay. There's another slower car in front of the Tesla, probably. Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
Golf.
Golf or?
Is it so slow?
No, it's a Polo, I think. It's a Polo.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And not such a big engine in there. Like mid acceleration here. It is really rainy and windy outside. Oh, BMW iX. Really rainy and windy outside, so it's actually a good thing to test the noise insulation. And we'll accelerate now up to 100 kilometers an hour. There we go, 60 miles an hour. And the main thing is, of course, from the upcoming cars here, but I don't have to raise my voice that much. And we can also go back in the driving mode, for example, to the personal mode. See if that's changing the driving modes while driving is really, really bad. I have to say that. Now the sound is being de-pronounced, so to speak. There's also nothing from the sound actuator and so on. Suspension is also now a little bit forgiving. Do you also feel a difference suspension-wise?
Yeah.
It's really notable.
Yeah,
This is an active adaptive suspension where it really changes something when you change the driving modes. It really fits the car way better. Of course, if you do like an Alpine pass or something, maybe go for the sport mode, but other than that, leave it in the base suspension mode, and that's actually it. And here also, for example, when you have like a GPS running or something, this is something I've been criticizing with the BMWs for quite some time now. When you change the driving mode, it stays then in this like this screensaver mode, and you have to actively switch it back to wherever you want to go again, and that's also not a really comfortable thing. Yeah, that goes to the modes. Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? Or you need an assistant to change things. Yeah, why not? And here actually a very likable driving feeling. Space in the cockpit. You have like this traveling feeling here, I would call it that way. And with the adaptive suspension here in the soft mode, it's also good comfort, even though we have 20-inch wheels. Really like the steering setting. Both this new steering wheel design and the animal-free material feels really nice. I would actually say even it feels better than the M material. So that's actually really good. You can always use shifting. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Lear proof. Gets the Lear stamp. Yeah, and the steering feel is actually better than in some of the sportier models of BMW, I would say. So I think they really nailed the steering feeling after that. Now, when not so many cars are coming towards us, we can also better test the noise insulation of the car itself. And I think for 100, so far pretty silent. We'll also now jump onto the German motorway, the Autobahn, famous Autobahn. We also try to include as much Autobahn as possible always in our episodes we film from Germany. And the car feels agile, feels relatively light in comparison, I have to say. And even in the normal suspension mode of the adaptive suspension, you really like to steer the car around. It is a fun vehicle, so their promise of driving fun is fulfilled with the BMW X3. And you might think about, why would they go for an X3 versus an X5? This one here definitely feels lighter, is lighter, and also does deliver you more driving fun. That would be the main reason for me. If you compare it to the BMW X1, of course they try to put a larger gap now again, so the existing X3 to the new X1, they kind of closed the gap there a little bit. Here now, of course, a completely new interior and so on. The seating comfort is also good, but it's both good in the X3 and in the X1. So here I would say from the suspension is the biggest difference to the X1, that here in the especially adaptive suspension in the comfort setting, you have more suspension comfort than in the X1. but you can of course always tune it with wheel size depending on what you like. So these are just small comments here to X1 to the one side and the X5 to the other side. On the Autobahn, let's go to the... Would you like to do that? Sport? Hey Leah, sport mode please. Thank you so much. And now like some 90 kilometers an hour to 130, that was. Yeah, I mean, actually I experienced more with this 2-liter 4-cylinder than expected. In the plug-in hybrid drivetrain, it would then also be connected again with the electric power, so they have even more power, at least when the battery is fully or at least half charged or something like that. The 3-liter 6-cylinder we will drive later on. Let's see if we can really have so much more fun with it and how much difference it really does make. But I think this engine size here, although I prefer more cylinders in a bigger vehicle, it still suits the vehicle. It is enough. And here 120 kilometers an hour, 70 miles an hour on the motorway, also good as for the noise insulation. There's no turbulence from the side mirrors. I'm also looking forward to compare the side mirrors in the M Sport model here, for example. It's all looking pretty good and it's really smooth ride also on the motorway. But in comparison to maybe other vehicles here in that segment, I feel they still have this tone of sportiness, because I say, hey, it's BMW after all, so it should feel like, you know, sportiness and fun to drive. And I think they also achieve that. It's also giving you a different driving feeling to the X1 in the sense of you feel the size. It's not too much size, but the X1 feels a little bit more agile in the corners, I would say. But then again, as I also mentioned when we were going on the motorway, this one here does deliver you more suspension comfort. Well, and as for the competitors, Audi Q5, meanwhile, it's, you know, like the previous generation is a little bit outdated meanwhile. Now the new generation is also coming, the all-new Audi A5. We will drive it for you very soon as well. Then we can compare the new generation to that one. And of course, the Mercedes GLC. From these, I feel that BMW again hits one, you know, like this sportiness thing again. Still, it's a good compromise of sportiness and comfort. The GLC has the optional air suspension and brings by that more suspension comfort, I feel. The GLC is also, at the moment, I think one of the best Mercedes vehicles. So inside the Mercedes, Leah nods as well. She also felt it as a, not only as a co-driver.
Rear axle steering.
Yeah, right, she's right. Like the GLC has rear axle steering. That's of course good for the maneuverability. That's a great word, right? That was pretty quick. Maneuverability. So in the US,
like,
maybe
Massachusetts.
yeah. Or Arkansas. Everyone in Europe says Arkansas, you know. No one says Arkansas. So the thing is that the GLC does offer more tech features in a way, you know. So all have their different emphasis. I would probably call it that way. But overall, is here in this mid-size SUV segment, yeah, once again, a very good performance. Outgoing model to this model, I mean, there are some things that are maybe a little bit worse. Some of the controls, I feel, they're maybe a little bit over the top. But then again, this new modern cockpit makes it a small BMW iX. So if you fancy the BMW iX, this large electric SUV, but say, hey, I don't need an all-electric car, or I cannot charge properly, but I found it cool from the interior. This is like a small BMW iX now, with this new modern cockpit and so on, ambient lighting, a little bit more show effect, and this works very well. So overall, definitely still is, once again, one of the best mid-size SUVs here. It is a very good driving performance. I feel very relaxed also as well. Any verdicts to add from your side?
No, I agree. Me too, yeah.
I mean, Leah, when she was driving with the girls last time in the GLC, she put on like the pink ambient lighting here all the way, and now she can do that in the X3 as well. She can do like some screaming out ambient lighting when she's going out with the girls.
And Thomas was like,
yeah.
Did you drive like that?
Yeah, you girls drove like that. Of course, everyone was looking at like 3 blonde girls driving there with ambient lighting all over the place in the night. Everyone was like, whoa. Yeah, I would have looked as well. So that's the thing. Yeah, but now the big question to you is, would you take this one or the GLC?
The GLC.
Leah would take the DLC. Yeah. Interesting to know. Yeah. That means a lot. I mean, definitely. We have a lot of Mercedes versus BMW comparisons, and sometimes the one, sometimes the other wins. Yeah, we also can change the ambient lighting here. That's even more visible at nighttime. That's a little bit weirder to see, right? A little bit confusing to look at it. But yeah, playing with the My modes here, silent is also possible. Oh, now the roof should not close. No, the roof shouldn't close on the camera suction mount there. That shouldn't happen. Yeah.
Maybe no silent mode.
Good to know. No silent mode. Yeah, efficient maybe also. That's also nice, right? Yeah. So ambient lighting wise, this is pretty cool. It does give you something, you know. It is an emotional feature, and I always have to say, why not? Here also in the tunnel, it doesn't get too loud actually, so I'm also happy with that. Pretty cool. I really like the steering feel. That's one of my main things actually. But now I'm looking forward to, is it really so much different when we're driving the M50? Now the M50, let's accelerate it out. Woo! Oi. Smartphones are flying through through the vehicle here. Wow. Yeah, that is way more powerful acceleration than in the base model. Yeah, that's why you would go for the 3-liter 6-cylinder. And some rainy autobahn driving with the X3 M50, and what we immediately feel is here they did some additional measures here to stiffen up the vehicle, and there's also the adaptive M suspension. And how the base model drove with the adaptive suspension in the sport mode is here, so to speak, the base setting. And when we then go to the sport mode, then it's even stiffer. So then you feel every inch of the motorway, basically. It's not that bad when the road is even and flat and everything, but when there are some bumps, then the sport setting in the adaptive M suspension here in the M50, it's really stiff. But you really feel these gradually steps from comfort to sportiness here. So the M50 definitely, if you appreciate this base setting of sportiness, then want it even sportier on demand. And of course, this 3-liter 6-cylinder is a great engine, best engine that BMW got at the moment for many years. And even if you don't exceed it with the acceleration and so on, it's just feeling really comfy and nice as well when you keep it at low RPM. So even if you don't accelerate it out here in the motorway, it gives you also a sense of calmness, not only a sense of sportiness. Here, by the way, when you press and hold the set button, it's important for our viewers from EU, then you can deactivate that speed limit warning. So sometimes when you just exceed it by 1 kilometer an hour, then it doesn't beep all the time. So and here, by the way, the cruise control and everything actually works also quite well in the rain. So we can set it here on the left side of the steering wheel, then we can switch if it's just a normal cruise control or the assisted driving. And let's see, also in these harsh conditions here, keeping me then centralized in the lane. So far, so good. Of course, they use a mix of sensors, not only camera sensors. Big discussion, and if camera sensors are enough. The Tesla shows a very good result with camera sensors only. And again, with fog and so on, the other ultrasonic sensors and so on can make a lot of sense. Some more agile driving. Ooh, when you let go of the throttle, I looked over to you and I go, yeah, so all the different things are just tuned in a more aggressive way here with the M50, definitely. So of course I have to be a little bit careful here because of the wet road, but it's hooking up quite well, of course, with these new tires. Good feeling in the corner, it doesn't lean at all. Nice acceleration out. The all-wheel drive is rear biased, so you always have more power than at the rear, for example. Yeah, in the handling, it's really nice. Wow. It's of course sound actuator, but it also
Good.
sounds natural, you know. So a good job here, not exaggerated and doesn't sound pathetic or something like that. So wow, that like in the agile driving, handling feelings, the M60 is really, really cool. I like that. So if you want that one more spice of sportiness, that's definitely then the way to go for. So yeah, plus the 3-liter 6-cylinder. Just the price, you know. Yeah, in the US market, you might say, hey, the extra price is not that large, but in the European market, the extra price for an M60 is just nuts. So there you really, really have to think twice about that. And fuel economy, if you drive rather efficient, some 8 liters on 1 kilometers, 29 mpg US, 35 mpg UK, maybe a little bit worse. And which engine am I talking about? Rather in general about the X3 with a petrol engine, because my experience, and also comparing it with the sedan models, for example, where I've been driving the same engines, is it doesn't make the biggest difference if you go for the 2-liter 4-cylinder or the 3-liter 6-cylinder when you drive it the very same calm way, because the 6-cylinder you keep it at lower RPM and so on, and then they're not so much more fuel consuming. Maybe then this one here rather in the direction 8.5, and the other one maybe a little bit less. 8, like maybe that's the biggest difference. Sometimes, for example, when you drive it even quicker, then the 6-cylinder can actually be more fuel efficient, because once again, in the same situations, it keeps it at lower RPM. But so that you get like a rough estimate. Interesting, by the way, that the mild hybrid technologies are in some cases the same, like the M50. If you go for the X320 or the X330, then they both also have mild hybrid system, so 48-volt board net. However, in the US, the Northern American version, there they use an ISG, so let's say like a less sophisticated mild hybrid system, whereas the mild hybrid system they use in Europe for the 20i is a little bit more powerful and can give you some more recuperation moments. Pricing, Europe, Germany, for example, 58,000 euros. It starts, already not cheap, of course, and then if you go for an M50, you are already at 83,000 euros, plus a couple of thousand euros extra. It gets really hefty. US prices are a little bit lower. It's built in US, plus the prices in the US are without the VAT, and they start there at 50,000 US, and that's of course more attractive. But even more crucial is that the M50 starts at 64,000 euros. So there's not such a huge difference between the M50 model and the other models, whereas in Europe there's a way higher difference. And why is that? The motivation to sell these big petrol engines, pure combustion engines in Europe, is rather low for the manufacturer because of these fleet consumption CO2 regulation, and then they need more electric vehicle sales to get the CO2 fleet down, or the whole consumption of the fleet in CO2. And when they sell in consumption, high fuel engines and so on, they need more margin on that because they have to pay basically a fee to the EU for that. So that is like the reason behind why the M50 is so extremely expensive in Europe and relatively cheap in comparison in the US. This special episode is about the all-new Audi Q5, and to deliver the best service for you, we have the normal Audi Q5, not the S model, and as the SUV building form. At the same time, we also have the SQ5, and as the Sportback version, you can see it here, this somewhat cut-off rear coupe styling. So no matter which version you're going for, we have all here for you, and we'll also compare it to the Mercedes GLC and the BMW X3, because these two we had recently in a comparison. And then you asked me, when you can drive the all-new Audi Q5, how does it relate to these competitors? Everything you need to know now with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. And we start here with the normal Q5 model. This is, however, already the S line. And we also have a black pack where the rings are here darkened out. And you can see this already kind of sporty styling. We'll soon go into the differentiations then to the S model. So this is here the true S model and without the black package, which I would prefer, because then you have the bright Audi rings and also more these chrome accentuations in the grille, and the return of the S badge in the front grille. Yay! Because this is another channel here, so as a feedback, you know, from customer to the manufacturer. So you gave it in the comments, we discussed it, we also gave it as a feedback to the manufacturers, and
then we can also once again have a badge in the front, because there was none of the badge so far then, also for the all new S5 model. And now they returned it here. It doesn't say SQ5 and it won't say S5 probably, so but only like the red sign and S. Honestly, I like also, like in my personal S5, I like it when it says S5 in the front, honestly. But it's of course good to have this one instead of no badge at all for the true S model. And once again, I think it just looks cooler when you have these chrome accentuations here. Grenadine red is, by the way, this exterior color for the Sportback here. Saphir gold for this one here. Yeah, that's why I chose these pants here today. But of course, it's a matter of preference. For example, Leah always likes the blackout, dark, sportier look as we have here. But what you can see here, the S line looks pretty much similar than the true S model. It will be a bigger difference than when you have the base model, but you can see here, more or less the same in the structures. Is more about, like, the big difference here is the no black package or the black package, but definitely interesting to see it. The BMW X3 especially was criticized for its front design especially, and here the Q5 in general received very good feedback as for the design. So I think from the design itself, the vehicle here already works very well. Or what do you think? A little bit complicated with some of the optional logics they have there, and starts already with the headlamps, that you have a 3-step logic for the headlamps, the base, then an LED plus, and then here the optional matrix LED with all the different functionalities, also individual light signatures, cascading turning indicators, both front and the rear. And this is a scheme that will be carried out through the vehicle, that they have so many stuff like optional. And I think that's a problem. It should be easier for the customer. The rear comparison here, first of all, the SUV building form, of course, a little bit more upright here, but already somewhat flattened out. And this one, once again, with the black package here with the darkened Audi rings. And you can see this light strip goes all the way through. Even in the rear, you have a 3-step logic for the equipment here. And this is once again the top spec, where you have these OLED here. They are somewhat shimmering. And then you also have these proximity sensors that sometimes when you get there it is. When you get close to the vehicle, then it says like, go away, you're too close. S-line in here, the contrast in the lower part, and real exhaust tips even here for this 2-liter diesel. So this is a new scheme where once again your feedback came to us, our feedback came to Audi, because we said this fake exhaust theme was just over the top, because Audi was #1 in like ridiculous fake exhaust. And then they said, okay, we took this feedback here also from you, and then we go for this honest design once again. And here the first of all, S model and Sportback. The Sportback model, here you can see it's just flattened out, a little bit more coupe-ish style. Then the light is more or less the same. And the S model without the black package here with this chrome span and the rear exhaust tips here, of course, but then just 2 more, so 2 on each side. That, of course, looks really massive, and will soon also go for this sound check here for you. And just, that no one is confused. If you go for the S model, it doesn't have anything to do with Sportback or not. You can get the S model for the normal SUV, and you can get the normal engines, of course, also for the Sportback, just to be very clear on that. And here in this great V shot, you can see the differences between the SUV and the Sportback, and more facts and figures. The length of the new Q5 generation is 4.72 meters or 186 inches. Couple of centimeters longer than the predecessor, but not much. Here the wheels, you can see 18 to 21 inch wheels. These here are 20 inch wheels on our Q5 S line. There would also, for example in Germany, be a 17-inch winter tire available if you like. And here with the black package, you can see here the mirror caps in black and also the black frames around. S-line badge now, by the way, also new. This has also been upgraded later on, once again after your feedback. And the classic SUV style, which is more popular in the US market, for example, more upright here. And then to the Sportback, which has this flattened out look right there. The Sportback is a little bit more popular actually in Europe, especially in Germany. So that's a very interesting thing. And maybe heard it that the BMW X4 was cancelled. They only built the X3 now because there the X4 had a very tiny take rate. It might be a chance for the Audi Q5 Sportback. And also the Porsche Macan has been cancelled as the combustion engine. And this was always a sister model of the Q5, same platform. Audi has renewed this one, Porsche not. A huge mistake by Porsche. ditching their most sold model overall. No one can understand that. And yeah, the Porsche Macan EV sales, of course, cannot cope the losing sales of the Macan combustion engine. That's why probably even this one here as a Sportback model is becoming even more important for Audi, and then again for the whole corporation itself. Here, no black packs, so we have the chrome frames around, and also beautiful here for the S molds, these, you know, chrome pads here for the side mirrors. I really like this styling here. Do you do as well? Here the biggest wheels, 21 inch. This is even an option for the SQ5. 19 inch would be the standard here. This is also then with the bigger brakes and so on. Suspension logic is normal Q5 base suspension. Then here the SQ5 gets a fixed sport suspension. However, these base suspensions already come in both cases with frequency adaptive dampening. That means it is adaptive, but passively adaptive. You cannot switch the driving modes. And then optional, we have it on both vehicles spec here today, the adaptive air suspension. It can even go in different heights, up to 6 centimeters, about 2 inches of difference, like in the lift off-road mode or in the sportiest lower mode and so on. And this adaptive air suspension is indeed actively adaptive, so you switch the driving modes and then it gets stiffer and so on. By the way, the Northern American market models have a little bit different suspension setups, also because of regulatory things with the light duty registration and so on. So they might ride a little bit different indeed, and also the sound that we will hear, for example, from the engine very soon, will probably be a little bit more pronounced on the Northern American market. And now to the engine lineup. I always love this shot. So quickly, let me begin with the engines that you do not see here with these two vehicles. There's a 2-liter TFSI, the base petrol engine, front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Based on this engine, there will also be later a plug-in hybrid with a 20 kWh net battery, also waiting for that. And here on location, we have the other choices, the 2-liter TDI, 204 horsepower, 7.4 seconds in the acceleration figure, always with all-wheel drive. And here our SQ5, the 3-liter V6. And this one here with 367 horsepower and 4.5 seconds in the acceleration figure, of course also all-wheel drive. What is common with all markets is that the all-wheel drive is always now the Quattro Ultra. There's no exception for that, and also no sports differential or something. Quattro Ultra means it is basically a front-wheel based platform. It is not the classic Quattro Ultra with 46 distribution. The Quattro Ultra is more flexible. And does that mean that it's front-wheel biased only in an all-wheel drive version? Not necessarily, because yes, when you're driving really slowly, you're just rolling and so on, then it's more or less front wheels and the rear can even be uncoupled. But as soon as you hit the throttle harder, there can be situations up to 30%, 70%, so up to 70% to the rear. So when you accelerate really hard out of a corner, it can be that this becomes a more rear biased all-wheel drive. So it's more flexible, supposed to be more efficient, but at the same time, no, it's not the classic Quattro system. We have driven it in the Audi A5 already and it works quite well. It feels somewhat different than the classic Quattro Ultra, which I have in my S5, for example. I think it has pros and cons overall. What is different, for example, from European markets, some other markets, and to the Northern American market, which is of course a very important market here for the Q5. In Europe you get the MHEV Plus. That's a mild hybrid system, 1.7 kWh battery as a buffer. You can have somewhat electric moments, you can use recuperation, more efficiency. But then on the Northern American market and on some other markets, they have decided not to go for it. It's also a cost thing. And there you only have the normal start-stop system. This is the key fob, matte black, I think it's fine, slim and so on. Then the door closing sounds. I would say it's fine, could be better, could be worse. The rear sounds better actually. Then inside of the doors, so in this trim here with microfiber, not all trims have that. On the top part it's structured but not really soft. Optional Bang & Olufsen sound system. No cover here at the inside of the doors. There's just some rubber bottom that things don't fly around so easily. Standard window levers, you have to say that nowadays. And then you have here this high gloss black, which collects a lot of fingerprints. And you see it also is one button design. This is all one button basically overall. Then you have here for the S-Line, an S-Line entry sill badge. And no matter if S-Line or SQ5, it's more or less the same from the design. Here at the moment everything is blacked out. You see here there's one black panel in a curved scheme. And then I can also activate the ignition here, and there you can see when everything comes to life with the different screen. One on the left side, one on the right side, and another passenger screen. Soon more to that, that's an option. Yeah, this is here the 12-volt voltage battery, because we are doing so many things with the car all the time. We have to hurry up then. S-Line here with the logo or with the S. This is like the sporty steering wheel, flat bottom, stitching on the inside, and then here illumination of these buttons. It is once again one button, hashtag capacitive BS, but at least it has a nice clicking feedback. And then seats, there are base seats and sport seats. These are the sport seats that come with the S-Line or the SQ5, so more shoulder accentuation. And in this case here with the microfiber on the inside, with these special stitching, this looks pretty cool, doesn't it? And it also serves a comfort function, because these cushions here make it indeed more comfortable. There is no animal-free version yet, so this is like a mix of microfiber, then artificial leather and animal leather. And yeah, I would wish Audi that they also offer, for example, a high-grade leatherette full of the seat, because also on the Northern American market they will probably use only the seats which are a mix of artificial leather and animal leather, and I think they should be more consistent and also easier for the customer. In Europe we can also get a fabric seat, for example, as an additional option. And here with 189, 6'2", still some headroom left as tall person. There is also one with panoramic roof available. This one here does not have that one. Electric seat control, and also here electric control for the steering wheel. Dual lamination here in the front of the windows. And while the front window always has a special acoustic lamination, here the dual lamination for the side windows, the acoustic windows on the side, is an option. The cockpit layout we know from Audi A5, Audi A6 e-tron, so it's basically similar. And also the all-new Audi A6, the combustion engine. Is it already out when we publish this video? I think, right? So that we don't violate any embargo. Yeah, that was a couple of days ago, right? Yeah, just to be sure. And then optional, or with the mid tech pack. So they're different, like base, a mid and a high tech pro package. Then with the mid tech package you also get the passenger screen. Otherwise it would be a high gloss black decor element actually. Both solutions not to my liking, honestly. I think the passenger screen to me is useless, but maybe that's just my opinion. It also depends on the different markets where people use it or not. And then the problem is that I would like it clean here and not without a black panel here and not without the screen. What do you think about it? This whole panel here, it can be maybe for some too much, but I think it's nicely integrated in a way that it's also curved here. Then you have different decor elements here. We'll soon also check the different decor element of the SQ5. Then here the glove box is nicely dampened. That fits very nicely from the build quality. Here also cool that we have some microfiber covering at the middle console. I like that. And also that we here don't have high gloss black, at least on the outside, just on the inside middle console. Audi builds among the best cup holders, because here 4 dots, they are also catching different bottles without being too tight, but tight enough for different heights. Integrated shifting lever that cleans up things here definitely. In the front here, 2 USB-C ports and inductive charging pad for your phone. This is also ventilated. And there's this logic, if you go for this optional MMI package with the head-up display and the B&O sound system, then these 4 USB-C slots, so 2 in the front, 2 in the rear, are upgraded in the charging speed. So base would be 15 watt each, and then with the upgrade it's 60 watt in the front and even 100 watt in the rear. But that's only this optional inside this other package. And the armrest here is plush for your elbow, and then different heights are actually available. Not forward, but different heights, and yeah, more space underneath. And should you wonder if the SQ5 is in any way different in the interior, well, not really. We just have a different decor element. This here, like the open carbon fiber, you can really touch and feel. Not sure if this is exclusive to it. Need to check in the market configurator. But there's no real difference from like batching, everything else and so on. So yeah, this is, if you go for S-Line or SQ5, more or less identical.
driver POV, by the way, here with 2-dimensional Audi rings. I like the 3-dimensional more, but they still look cool somewhat. I like that we have still a separate field here for the heated steering wheel, by the way. Then the digital instruments, and I already have my SQ5 on here. Here, then you can see the RPM is here in the lower right part. This is here the speed on both sides. I think doesn't make any sense. I expect an update where this here will be the RPM meter. And of course you can change through different views right here. You also get a head-up display, optional in the package. It's not flickering, it's just doing that on camera, by the way. And then the main infotainment system here with the climate control right there. And then the question is always like, how do you do that? Like, it's supposed to, you rest your hand there and then, yeah, I'm not sure which hand was used as a standard hand to change the climate there. Pretty weird, honestly. And then here, the same accounts, I mean, can you control that better? Maybe Leah tries.
Yeah, it's okay, but not the best. It looks cool,
Strange,
but...
right? Yeah, it looks clean and cool, but you look also pretty cool, like sunglasses, Leah. What about the sunblinds, by the way? The visors here cannot be extended. Does it have a light on the passenger side?
Yes.
Yeah, it does. There it is.
Makeup light
Okay.
is there.
Then back to the infotainment system. So climate control, not the best. Oh, seat heating out. It's hot today. Here you have some hotkeys that you can easily access the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, with or without a cable. And the MMI itself, I would say, is quick enough. This is like this main menu. What I found pretty cool is you can either swipe here, then it would be like here, or if you put in like reverse, you put in reverse, you have the camera view, like here, also this drone view from above. Then you would have an additional menu right here for the garage door opener. That is a thing that I already showed you in shorts format, because here under more, they can program a garage door opener, even with the GPS location, that the gate automatically opens and later on closes again. Rear seats, beginning with the SUV. First of all, inside of the doors, here on top it's not that soft, but somewhat structured, that's nice. And here in this trim is also the microfiber on the inside, hardpack however at the lower part of the doors. Then we have top tether behind, but also Isofix on the front passenger seats and Isofix on the outside rear seats here each. This cap here also just goes up and down easily, and the microfiber structure on the market where it's available is really nice and plush here also in the rear. And we can have optional the rear seats plus, and then you can move this rear bench 10 centimeters front and back, make the trunk longer or more legroom, and is also here adjustable here in the inclination, but that's not standard. And here it's a little bit, you know, so at least you can see it also better, I think, when I move the other, well, here 2/3 move forward or backward, and also here the inclination. But here it's just like tiny bit I can change. Yeah, but I think overall the comfort on the rear bench is nice. Oh, I feel that here when you have the microfiber material here, it makes the seating in the rear also so much more plush. So that's a huge difference if you can get this one here in your market. Then as for the headroom and the legroom, here in the SUV without the panoramic roof with 189, 602, still enough headroom left, soon comparing it to the Sportback. And legroom, well, you have these recesses here, that is good for the knees. It does fit for tall adults, considering the package could be more, but it fits. And remember, here I'm driving as a tall adult, but overall decent comfort. Yeah, I could wish for more legroom in the middle part here, because it's also possible for 5 adults. Yeah, a little bit stiffer than for your back especially, but I think overall that works. And in the middle part here you have, when the ignition is on, also seat heating, a climate unit, and 2 USB-C chargers in the rear. And the rear seating in the Sportback version, well, this one also without the panoramic roof. And here you can see this is a little bit closer, so you lose some headroom indeed due to this falling roofline, but it's still okay. That's not much of a compromise. And now it's time for the signature Autogefühl move with measuring the trunk or the boot. So here the SUV versus the Sportback, that will be very exciting. So the standard boot leader figure
for this one here, the SUV, is 520 liters. And only 5 liters less for the Sportback, because you only lose the height here above this cover. So here you can see this is more shallow here in this area, and up here it's actually only a centimeter difference. So this one here is about 73 centimeters or 29 inches, whereas here, moving this cover here, on the top position, this one here, we have like 74 centimeters. So 1 or 2 centimeters difference in this height, but this is more difference. Do you have a higher this area here? Other than that, it's more or less than the same. You have a little bit less of the liter figure if you have the subwoofer plus the rear seats plus like this movable seat bench. This also fits vertically. Show it to you here, also from the trunk once again. This is the difference here, the 10 centimeter movable bench. So if you have this bench plus the subwoofer underneath, you lose about 45 liters of luggage capacity. But the reason is that how it's measured with the rear bench is different, because this one can be turned and you can get almost the same liter figure again if you put it a little bit more upright, because the base bench is a little bit more upright. That's like some detailed thing, but you deserve to know. Then underneath here we have some space, and once again here the subwoofer, that's why you lose like 10-15 liters here, but you still have possibility here to store stuff. And then the normal length is a little bit more than 1 meter or 40 inches, and the width here between the wheel arches also a little bit more than 1 meter or 40 inches. Good thing is that you can also fold the seats. This doesn't work because it's forward at the moment. This one does directly work. However, you have to push it through here or have to go around. I can also make that flatter, like another people always ask me for that to see. There we go. This then the click in. The other one would also go down. At the moment it touches the front seat, and the total length right here, there we go, is like 1 meter 80 or 71 inches. And quickly over to the Sportback, where you can see that you can do the same stuff also with folding the seats. Here at the moment the bench is moved backward. That's why it also works, and that I push this and this down. To unlock the seats again, you have to pull this lever at the side, then you can push it up again. And once again, flexible here with moving this one forward or backward. Yeah, that shouldn't interfere with this one here. There we go. Oh, that almost hit Elia and the camera. Yeah, so I think both work very well. If you have the air suspension, you can also lower the loading niveau. Yeah, here in the Sportback also the same underneath. I think it's really more a question of design. The only thing that could be affected is maybe like dog boxes that really need the height also towards this area here. And another cool feature is this here. To put the cover away, they found a good solution actually. So first of all, removing this cover right here, and then you fold this one up. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any function that it stays up. Yeah, so you just have to hold it, and then you can slide these here on the side. There we go. And then you already see it. Maybe here there's a good space to store it underneath. Some manufacturers have went for this solution now. I think it's always a good thing that you don't. Here it's like really clean. However, before putting everything back to place, you have to then still install these here again. So I mean, there might be some more practical solutions, but yeah, that's just how often you do that. There we go. Then close it again, and then you have this everything clean. And this is here an SQ5 in ultra blue, a typical Thomas blue, really screaming out blue color. I really love that. Would definitely pick one in this color here, but it wasn't the main point. First of all, I mean, color variation is cool, but here I want to talk about the panoramic roof. This one has one, and the Sportback soon back there as well. And I can show you the difference there. So first of all, as for the headroom, it still works here in the front. A little bit less headroom, but that's it. And then you see it goes all the way across the vehicle, like 1 meter 35 in length. I did measure that actually, and also measured the width because I wanted to see the differences between the SUV and the Sportback. Here, all the way across the vehicle, and then it's split. You have this shade here actually. So let me turn on the ignition. You have a real shade you can apply right there, and that is separated here from the control on the right side. And the true real button is only for the glass roof. So you remember, most of the time they have the solutions that you control the shade and the glass roof via this middle button. Here it's separated actually, and here it's a very wide opening. SUV with panoramic roof in the rear, it gets close indeed, because you see here this is all the way carried onto the rear. It doesn't, go up or something like that. It still fits, but when you're tall, then panoramic roof not the best idea, because see here the limit. And now this one here in District Green, this is a Q5 Sportback, so not the S model, but S line. So first one, another color choice, and here also panoramic roof, and I did measure that, and I found out it's a little bit, less in width, and it's like this, less in length, so a little bit shorter. And maybe you can already see that from the inside, and here we can also open it again and move forward. There we go. It's also wide, goes over the vehicle, but indeed in the SUV it's just even larger. And here the same, you can also apply this real shade then for that. But yeah, I was really curious to see when I took the measurements that this one is actually like this shorter, and on the width is just this different. And here the Sportback with panoramic roof, then it gets really close, but because the seating is raising here, I still barely fit here. Dynamic mode. Woo! That was the first 0 to 70 kilometers an hour in the dynamic mode. Nice. And yeah, I didn't feel like a front wheel bias or so. As I said, the more you push it, the more power is also sent to the rear wheels. And it's also an SUV, of course, and we'll start with some winding corners for you. Later also then a little bit more motorway. Here in the dynamic mode, the air suspension is a little bit stiffer, also gives me more feedback. And we have here the SQ5, starting driving with that, with the 6-cylinder, 367 horsepower. That gives us good performance. And we'll later on also compare the 2-liter TDI if you don't want to spend so much money. The first thing I notice here is a very good steering, so precise handling. Every degree does something, and also the progressive steering is standard. That means I don't have to steer that much, so I can keep both hands at the steering wheel all the time. Yeah, from the steering input, it's really nice. Also when you go in some slalom situations, also on. And I was comparing to the X3 and the GLC. This one has, maybe the best steering. The GLC steering was also really good. Talking about this comparison, which is really important, the seats are the best in the X3, and I feel that the suspension is the best in the GLC. The suspension here, we have the adaptive air suspension, but it's set on a really, really stiff. Is that a donkey or a horse on the road? It is.
I think a donkey.
It's a donkey. I found donkeys really cute, by the way. So that's interesting traveling. So yeah, okay. Back to car traveling. So here, when we compare the driving modes, I go back, for example, to the comfort mode. Then the air suspension is giving us a little bit more comfort. Steering is also a little bit lighter than in this case. But even in the comfort mode, the air suspension is set on a rather stiff note, so you don't feel too much that it's an air suspension, honestly. We will soon also compare it in the non-SQ5 model, in normal Q5, how that feels different, if it gives us more comfort then or not. That will be also very interesting. Overall, it does give you a good driving feeling, and it's also in general comfortable. What we feel in the corners, talked about it with Leah a couple of last minutes before, it feels kind of heavy, especially for the passenger. And we also had this comparison, X3 versus GLC, and there the GLC felt lightest and also best for Leah. That's another interesting aspect. Yet again, as I said, the X3, there's an older generation. Wasn't X3 or X1? Sometimes hard to differentiate in the older generations especially. So as I said, the X3, the best seating comfort, which is also important for long journeys. And also the X3 has the best engine setup. Both the Audi and the Audi Q5 and the Mercedes GLC, no matter if you go 2-liter 4-cylinder or here the 6-cylinder, Mercedes of course always the 4-cylinder besides the GLC 450D diesel.
So the BMW engine feels a little bit more cultivated when you like slightly hit the throttle, when you lift the throttle and so on. How it behaves is just the best for the engine, both in the 6-cylinder and the 4-cylinder. This was also good here with the V6, of course, and we'll soon compare it then to the 4-cylinder engine in the diesel. It's just that sometimes when you lift off the throttle and then you have some noise from the transmission, for example, and the throttle is here. It's a little bit more responsive than in a Mercedes, I would feel. In a GLC, sometimes it took like a second to get going, and here now it's actually fine. But in the BMW, it was even a little bit better as for engine and transmission wise. I would call it that way. Wind noise and so on is really good here. So it's very, very silent from the wind noise. However, sometimes we have rattling noises here from the front, the top dashboard, I think from the speaker or so on. We can also compare it to the other vehicle if it's the same there. And also here, for example, at the moment, the road is very even in the surface. However, when we have a lot of bumps in the road, then there are a lot of booming noises. This is here, there's a hump here, and this here, the one with the 21-inch wheels, that makes the ride also stiffer. But especially when the road is uneven, these booming noises can be quite irritating, I would say. Yeah, and I think that is the strongest booming noise here in the Audi Q5. I think that was less both in the X3 and in the GLC. We'll later also drive the motorway and see how about the wind noise and so on. Nice driving dynamics here also out of the roundabout, for example. Then here the air suspension is giving you a lot of like span between sportiness and comfort, so that's all good. So I think the unity of driver, car and road, that is well mastered here indeed. It's really good that we had the X3 and GLC experience before, so we can go even deeper into these detailed aspects and so on. Dynamic mode, once again, let's accelerate out from, let's say, 40 to 80. That's it. Nicely. Oh, we could have accelerated even further. So 80 is okay. Now it's 90. Interesting, definitely. Yeah, the acceleration with the 6-cylinder is nice.
Yeah.
That's really, really nice. And yeah, I don't feel that it would be too much front wheel bias or so on. So this Quattro Ultra system is working very well. Here now at a little bit higher speeds, very stable on the road, definitely. That's good and a lot of fun. Nice feeling from the brakes. So yeah, I mean the car feels like it is, everything fits to each other. That is definitely well done. Difference with the A5 is of course same base platform, a lot of same parts, but it sits higher. It does feel like a real SUV, definitely.
More G-force.
Yeah, and I mean for the passenger, for the passenger it's always better when you have especially with passenger, when you have these low sitting vehicles, they just apply. Yeah, I mean the G-force are always the same, but how it behaves and so on, how high you sit, it always affects how the passenger feels.
Very loud.
Yeah, when there's uneven road. Yeah, especially like I'm not sure how you can pick it up on camera, but as soon as there are like damaged road, there's this booming noise in the cabin, and that has been the problem with the whole VAG corporation, like all the different Volkswagen AG products, like VW, Cupra, Audi, I mean even the premium like Bentley, Lamborghini, and so on. They have the problem a lot with this booming noise when the road is uneven, and that is more present here than in the X3 and the GLC. But you already see where the story is going. That all the different brands have their like specific thing where they are maybe best, and some things where it's maybe less good, and so on. And of course, the more situations we experience, the more we can experience here. And I'm also really looking forward soon to the difference from the SQ5 to the normal model, like with the 2-liter TDI, although we have the adaptive air suspension in that one there too. So already very interesting aspects here so far. Motorway. Woo! Yeah, another nice acceleration onto the motorway. And we can drive some 120 kilometers an hour, so that gives us more possibility to check the noise insulation and so on. We can go back to the comfort mode as well, and yeah, I think as we said, really, the wind noise is really good, slow, nice traveling feeling, and when the road is even, it's actually really, really good. Just, you know, when the road is destroyed, then you have this booming noise problem. But when it's like this, all fine. And here I can also again activate now on purpose the lane keeping assist while being in the cruise control mode. And the assistance systems are really elaborated here, it's keeping me in the lane. Then here, blind spot monitor in the side mirror is a perfect spot for that. You need a perfect spot for the blind spot monitor. And here now, when the motorway also goes a little bit more to the right, this has also been upgraded here in this new generation. So the assistance systems, they have made a big leap forward indeed. So that's cool. The MHEV Plus system, by the way, I felt it more in the A5, honestly, than here in the Q5. Let's see later about the efficiency and so on of both engines here with the V6 and with the 2-liter TDI. But I think this combination of good noise insulation, as for wind noise and so on, and then the elaborated assistance systems make it also a nice motorway cruiser for long term. Yeah, there's the GLC. So that's actually pretty comfortable here on the motorway now, right? Yeah, that's also cool
good,
for the passengers and so on. And
It's only in the corners.
yeah, only in the corners because that's then you feel it's an SUV. But I mean, we had these rare exceptions like as I said, GLC 63, which was great in the corners also for the passengers. So maybe it's more a suspension thing or something like that. But here also good that we have the comfort setting then for the air suspension. But as I said earlier, it's tuned on a relatively stiff note that you don't feel too much of the air suspension, honestly. And that, of course, is a matter of preference, whatever you find actually better. To set the cruise control and change the speed, I have this separate column here, by the way, which I think is a good thing because it's really intuitive to use. You could also put it theoretically on the steering wheel, but then you wouldn't have the control buttons for the instruments on the left side and so on. So yeah, definitely one of the best things the Q5 here can do in the new generation is this motorway riding, and also here with the assisted systems. So that's a very elaborated or sophisticated experience here with the all-new Q5. And that's, I feel, also better than in the previous generation, for example. And now we hop over to the diesel, and what I want to show you here with the assistance system, even if we do some city traffic here, driving 30 kilometers rural here, and I don't have the cruise control set. So this is almost like an auto steering from this like active lane keeping assist without having the cruise control set. That is very interesting, right? So and you can also deactivate it because, as I said earlier, on the countryside road when you want to drive sporty, not that cool. And there are two possibilities. So either slide here and then press this button on the top there. So this would be one possibility. Or with this left stalk column, that would also be possible because pressing it once, this has the adaptive cruise assist with or without lane guidance, but that is the setting for inside the cruise control. For deactivating the general lane keeping assist, press and hold on the column here, and then in the middle part we also see that here deactivated. So this is the trick to that one. So to deactivate the most annoying features is, first of all, set on the favorite button the speed limit chime warner, and then press and hold the left one here. Then you can drive more or less freely. But you see, the system, when you really want to use it is actually pretty impressive. And then about the diesel in general, so it does create some of the typical diesel noise, but not this typical, like diesel nailing, as we say in Germany, nageln, diesel nageln. It's not that prominent. You hear it's a diesel, yes, but it's not super negative or something like that. And also how the throttle approach is, that's actually quite good. It's not that nothing is happening and then when you hammer it through, then suddenly all the power sets in. That's what sometimes is being done with the diesels. But here, also when you're slightly on the throttle, you have the power output directly, so that's actually fine. So it's not too different than if you compare it to the base petrol. Of course, there's a difference in the sound,
And the diesel has actually good performance with this 7.4 seconds to 1 kilometers an hour. We'll soon also accelerate onto the motorway and then also see about the consumption, because with the diesel, it's of course all about the consumption. The air suspension here, by the way, it more or less feels the same. I mean, we can select the different driving modes. We can also go to the comfort or to the dynamic mode and then see what's happening, especially on the motorway. By the way, if you want to feel more of this MHEV system, then you go to the drive mode efficiency. Then you also have more experience with this, electric moments and so on. The throttle input is drawn back if you really want to score the best consumption. There we go, from 40 slightly uphill. Let's go. And there it is, 120 kilometers an hour. It's like 70 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour. Yeah, I mean, that's the difference now to the SQ5. No wonder.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, still, I mean, the performance
it's
will be enough.
For me, it would be enough.
Yeah, for you it's enough. Yeah, it's definitely fine. And then also at higher speeds, you don't feel so much difference from the engine, because like
Now
the rest.
it's booming.
Yeah, when we are again over some uneven terrain, then you have the booming sound again. And also this is a very rough tarmac here, and now we're going to a different kind of tarmac. Now another one again. Yeah, but it's more like when the road is uneven and so on. Wind noise is very low again, once again, same vehicle. And I feel that the suspension is really not that different, is it? I mean, that's probably more about the driving modes. If you have the dynamic mode or comfort driving mode and so on, and not necessarily the difference SQ5 and the normal Q5 here. So the SQ5 difference is really more about that V6 petrol engine. That is the really strong case for that. Everything else feels kind of similar. And I mean, the thing with the precise steering and so on is also the same here. Also when you're going back a little bit back and forth. So that's actually fine. So yeah, the thing we also already felt that with the A5, that normal models, or if you go S-Line for the visual stuff, and the S models, they are pretty close in how the car is feeling overall. The main difference really the engine setup and the acceleration figure. Consumption for the SQ5, 10 liters on 1 kilometer, so 23 mpg US, 28 mpg UK. And for the 2-liter TDI, we achieve some 7 liters on 1 kilometer, so some 34 mpg US, 41 mpg UK. As for pricing, a base Q5 in the new generation starts at around 50,000 euros or 50,000 pounds. US prices to come at a later stage. Of course, you can spec it very well, and an SQ5 already is at about 85,000 euros. But even here a normal Q5, as it stands here right here, 2-liter TDI, but then with a lot of extras on the inside, this vehicle here is 84,000 euros, so as expensive as a base SQ5. And the vehicle as it stands here as Sportback SQ5, and then with all the bells and whistles, 102,000 euros. That is way more expensive than the predecessor. And also we recently had in comparison even the performance models of the X3 and the GLC, and the BMW X3 M50 or the Mercedes GLC 43 AMG. That one was like 90,000 something. So this one here is like 10k more expensive than the Mercedes and BMW counterparts. Yeah, and that extra price, I have to say, is not really justified. Of course, then the market prices depend, and then it also depends how much discount you get. For example, with the Mercedes, you rather don't get so many discounts. So probably there will be more discounts for this than for the Mercedes. They have to see about also the individual leasing rates and so on. And then since we recently tested the BMW X3 versus the GLC, I soon also want to want you to comment in the comment section which comparison we will do next. But first of all, my estimation, like where is it situated, where is it placed? So I feel that the BMW X3, no matter if 2 or 4-cylinder, is best in engine and transmission, converter, automatic gearbox. Audi and Mercedes use the dual clutch transmission in all of the different engines. So I feel this isn't that lively, so to speak, or not that cultivated than the torque converter in the BMW. And the engine, I feel, was worst in the Mercedes, because there it like sometimes takes a second to get going. Better with the Audi and the best with the BMW. Then with the Audi, for example, good steering feeling. The exterior design probably works with most. This is also one thing, and also very elaborated assistance systems. Very cool on long haul on the motorway and so on. This playing together with suspension and assistance systems. Then again, Mercedes has the best and most comfortable suspension. And also best with Mercedes that you don't get sick as a passenger, for example, in winding corners. So you see, yeah, BMW best in seating comfort and also best in animal-free and more sustainable choices and so on. So each manufacturer has like own pros and cons here and there. Two of the most popular compact premium SUVs fight it out. The all-new BMW X1 against the Audi Q3. Here on Autogefühl with Thomas for you in 4K, full screen and full length. Let's go with the all-new generation of the BMW X1. You can see here this really large double kidney here in the front, vertical fins, adaptive air intake and on demand. New headlamps here. These are also the adaptive LED lamps, nice modern signature. And this is also the M Sport model, so you have this sporty design kit in the lower part. Whereas with the Audi Q3 we have this typical Audi single frame grille, really large, three-dimensional Audi rings. They are more and more going away from that now. We will see that in the Q8 e-tron episode. Headlamps here, these are also the LED ones and a very modern styling. So this is not the all-new model then, but still has a quite modern appeal, definitely. This is, by the way, Navara blue. This color here, rather darker blue, but also very beautiful. Whereas we have a little bit brighter one. You could maybe move it also in the blue direction or maybe gray or something in between. Here it is called at the BMW Storm Bay Metallic. Turning indicators in the front, I think both cool, right? Here with a segmented look in the Audi, and here also with the two spans here. I think both cool, isn't it? Which one do you like better? Side comparison, the length 4 meters 50 or 177 inches for the BMW X1, and the Q3 almost the same. It's just about 2 centimeters difference, so more or less the same length, very same segment. Here we have 18-inch wheels for the BMW X1, winter tires. Of course, there would be bigger ones available. Overall for both vehicles, from 17 to 20 inch are available. The Q3 here has 19 inch for the day, so in that respect it looks a little bit cooler, of course. Both are available with adaptive suspension, that's an option. And the main design difference is actually here, that the Audi Q3 has a little more dynamic stance in the way that the C-pillar is standing here upright, whereas with the BMW X1 it more looks, in the traditional shape. Then of course with both vehicles there are this SUV coupe versions available. It's the BMW X2 for the X1 here. In the new generation there will also be soon a video here on Autogefühl if you stay subscribed. And for the Q3 it's the Q3 Sportback. We also have a separate video of that one on our channel. And as for the electric vehicle versions, there's the all-new BMW iX1. There's also a review of that on Autogefühl. And here with the Q3, the corresponding model would be the Q4 e-tron. Interesting is that that's a totally different platform for the Audi, but the same platform for the BMWs. Different technology approaches right there. And as for the all-wheel drive system, both platforms are front-wheel driven platforms. So that means when it's an all-wheel drive, like we have here today with both vehicles, it's front plus rear on demand. The question then in the driving part is, how much front wheel bias is there? Or is it not that significant? Is there a big difference between the vehicles? This will be super interesting in the driving part later on. Car designs are becoming more alike. Well, here in this case, I think it's good that they do differentiate, whereas we have with the Audi Q3 here, this flatter design here of the rear windshield, although this is the SUV and not the Sportback version here. And then this like textile tail lamp signature. Contrasting lower part, this one by the way here, the advanced trim level. The S-Line would be the very corresponding trim level to the M Sport, but it's always hard to get 100% comparable vehicles. This is the best we could get for you. And then here in the rear of the X1, new generation, three-dimensional tail lamp design, and here a more, upright design actually. So I think it's good that they differentiate in that way. And then the M Sport adds this black contrast here in the lower part. And what about the Autogefühl fake exhaust police? the AFAP alert. Well, with the X1, no problem at all. Very clean and honest design. But the Q3 sets it all the way in for fake exhausts. And the turning indicator comparison? Yeah, definitely won by the Audi. Just more beautiful integration here. Here with the BMW, I don't get it. It's such a beautiful three-dimensional tail lamp design here. Then this turning indicator on the inside. Moving towards the interior, key fobs first. Here the BMW one looks more modern. The Q3 really has this super old school key fob, but well, doesn't always have disadvantage with something is old school, but the BMW one looks cool and is also lighter indeed. Then the BMW here first, flush door handles, you can see they're integrated, and then they open like this, still give you good feedback, and door closing sound is not the best we've heard, honestly. Then interior here, this is an option, the sensor tech cover here, a high-grade leather red inside, looks great, great build quality, softer touch than even for your elbow. And then this is also the M Sport model, as I said, that is connected to the interior, and we also have these sportier seats right here. They standardly come, by the way, with Alcantara on the inside, leather red outside. Even in the US, Alcantara is now available. And these here are the full SensorTech, full leather red seats here with perforation. Looks great, great material quality, soft seat cushion as well, also in the lower part. So great offerings they have there. Base fabric seats would also be available, but this one, of course, then would be the seat for the US especially. But I mean, when you're in the US and can finally also get some Alcantara seats, why not try them? Because so far manufacturers said, yeah, you know, our US customers, they don't want Alcantara because it's, hey, US customers are spilling drinks all over the place all the time, then they need to clean the seats and wipe them. Why not offer Alcantara for the customer? I'm sure there are a lot of US customers who are very diligent with their vehicles, like you, because that's the reason also you're here on the channel. We are all car enthusiasts. So Alcantara for the US, finally, that's a great idea. Then seating position, super comfortable indeed, very soft, great quality, nice seating position, all SUV you need. Here we have a manual control of the steering wheel, up and down, in and out. So yeah, that's making a very, very good impression. It will get a little bit tough for the Q3 today, what the X1 is doing in this new generation here. Interior overview here with the BMW X1, new generation, really revolutionary change in this new generation. Screen is one curved unit and then split into 10.25 and 10.7. Beautiful integration also of the ambient lighting underneath the screen and also here towards then the other door and so on. So cool ambient lighting feature definitely. Zoom more details to the infotainment. Well, the climate unit is here inside, no separate climate unit. That is one difference also to the Q3 for sure. You get used to it a little bit, definitely. It stays in the same area at least. Air vents are here then, and the steering wheel also with the real buttons, so that's easy to control here, for example, also for the volume. Cool design of the steering wheel, isn't it? And here in the lower part, this is also very interesting. The smartphone has like a seat belt here to fix it against the inductive charging pad. It's a great idea. The only thing is now with the new iPhones, sometimes it does activate then the Apple Pay system, and then there's the credit card appearing in the smartphone by the seatbelt holder. Okay. And then what's interesting here behind, there are like some openings and they suck away hot air from the inductive charging heat. That is a cool feature for sure. Infotainment system has this main menu, and yeah, that's kind of information overload. And then this main menu, so the OS 8 here has become more complicated, definitely. The car internal GPS also works, is actually very well usable indeed. Other than that, you rather go to the Apple CarPlay menu, and the integration of the CarPlay and the Android Auto, it's more stable now. Wireless connection, so far before that it was sometimes, lacking the connection. Sometimes it does happen that when you play music, it sometimes stops for a second, but seldom and not as much as before. And here the optional Harman Kardon sound system is awesome. It's really superb. It delivers a great, true, in-depth surround sound. I really love that. So OS 8, more complicated, but more reliable and quicker, so it has pros and cons indeed. On a live vehicle view, there you see consumption figures, and this is here with a lot of city consumption and also in winter times. This the rather high figure. It can also be as low as 7 liters or 100 kilometers. Digital instruments, like a screensaver, but then I turn on the vehicle, looks like this. And you can pick different modes then for that. Here, either change the content where something is appearing. I rather prefer this setting with the digital speed in the middle actually, and then you can also change the whole layout, for example, to this or to this. This would be my favorite one here, and then you can see RPMs turn up. And the cool thing is here, when you're in the Apple CarPlay, in the BMW OS 8, here, when you have Apple Maps, you can also send it to the left side of the instruments. That's an exclusive feature. With Android Auto, it would also work then with the Google Maps. And here in the new X1, we also have a nice head-up display. Cup holders are sadly not adaptive, so bottles fly all over the place. And then here, 2 USB-C chargers. Here on this flying metal console, this is the My Mode selector where you can pick the driving modes. Good that we still have a normal volume jog. Really nice to have that. And this integrated shifting lever here, forward for reverse, this for D or the S shifting mode, soon more about that. Then start stop engine button here, and when you press this button, then you fold up this armrest. There's some space underneath indeed, and this whole concept of the flying middle console, because here underneath you can see we have more space here, a lot of space actually, and the whole design concept taken from the big EV SUV, the BMW iX. As for the rear seating area here, instead of the doors, is hardback, but a nice structure at least, and also great design from the Harman Kardon sound system is an option. Then you can take a look here at the interior, also with the black perforated sensor tech. Really good in the quality, so the overall build quality impression here of the new BMW X1 is really excellent, I have to say. And yeah, whereas we've seen that with Mercedes vehicles in the new generation, sometimes the build quality, like in C-Class, is worse than the predecessor. Here with the BMW models, they have really stepped up the game. Then here, legroom with this hard recess here in the back. There is still some legroom left, and also headroom, yes. Here in the rear, 189 or 6'2" is possible, although this one is also the one with a nice panoramic view. And it's actually quite decently comfortable here. The rear bench can also be slid forward or back 13 centimeters or 5 inches. If you have one of the pure combustion engine versions, it's not possible in the PHEV or in the iX1. And also in the middle seat, you can sit for a shorter period of time, a little bit blocking than here with the knees for sure, but it works for, let's say, emergency situations. Then you have 2 USB-C chargers here in the rear, and this one here, cup holders, decently built, and also with some adaptive rubber lips. Now the Q3 rear seating area. Yeah, these beautiful grey fabric seats, they bring more light to the interior. I really like this styling here indeed. And also in the rear with the nice Alcantara or microfiber accentuations right there. So everything looks really straight, clean and upright. Also hardback at the inside of the doors. Let's see, as for the legroom, this is a little bit tighter. There's also the recess here for the knees, but the way I'm driving in the front, it is definitely tighter with the knees than in the X1. Headroom, well, there is some left, but hardly comparable in this case because the X1 is the one with the panoramic roof. Here, this very vehicle is not spec'd with it. It works as well, not too much difference. And if you would go for the Sportback version, it also falls down. But the comfort here is also decent. But definitely this segment where the X1 is winning it, also here with the middle tunnel and so on. So the X1 definitely better suitable for space and people in the rear. That's also a decent result here overall. Then we have also 2 USB-C chargers here in the lower part. In the middle part, how's the comfort there? Yeah, he's also okay, and the same problem then with the knees on the inside. And the armrest here in the middle is also adaptive, good build quality. And here, well, they're a little bit smaller definitely, so it depends on the drink size, if that's an advantage or disadvantage. Towards the interior of the Audi, here a classic door handle, so not flush, but both have, can be touched for real, so it's actually both fine, I think. Door closing sound, yeah, it's definitely better with the Audi here in this case. However, inside material of the door, this one is here rather hard pack, was cooler with the Sensación cover in the BMW, but here is nice here with the microfiber cover of the inside of the doors here. And this is a very nice trim indeed, because look at that. Here, these grey fabric seats, they are really beautiful. So fabric is also available in the UK market, for example. And then we have, in this case, in here, microfiber at the outside. So beautiful fabric, microfiber, leatherette mix. So also animal-free seats. And yeah, great styling here and this brighter styling. Lower part here can also be made a little bit longer than for longer legs. And then the steering wheel here, this one is the non-sporty steering wheel, the base one, but looks actually quite clean as well. And real buttons here also on the steering wheel. That's also cool. Then about the seating position. This one, the one without panoramic roof, so it's not that well to compare with the headroom here. And of course we have more headroom with 189 or 6'2". Also a very nice and comfortable seating position. I feel I sit a little bit lower, so the X1 more gives me this SUV driving position, whereas the Q3 then in comparison more gives a crossover driving position. And then here steering wheel in and out, up and down, but both are comfortable. But seating wise, from the first impression, yeah, I think the X1 seats from the ergonomic deliver a little bit more, and that's quite rare. So most of the time when we compare BMW and Audi, especially in sedans, for example, then Audi were always better as for the ergonomics. But here, one of the very first and rare cases where the BMW seats were actually make a better impression. Yeah, that's quite astonishing. Very interesting, by the way, here these door handles from the inside are kind of like upside down than you used to. But I think it's a good solution because when you grab them, this is actually more intuitive in that way than the other way around. So I think well played, Audi. Interior cockpit overview of the Audi, also very clean, a very timeless layout, I think. It would usually start with 10.25 inch on the left, but this is the optional 12.3 inch virtual cockpit, so a bigger one then. And here it would also start 8.8 smaller, and this is then the 10.1 inch in comparison to the X1. The instruments are larger in the Audi, but the infotainment system is larger in the BMW. Interesting, isn't it? 2 more details to that. Here, microfiber cover. On top of that, that's a beautiful solution here, quattro batching. Top part here is somewhat soft touch. And then the main difference is here we still have a manual climate unit with nice clicking sounds. This is what I do prefer, so that is one key element in the interior that is better with the Audi, I think. Also manual volume knob. And the drive mode select is also a little bit easier because you still have a real button here which you can also switch through. And then it also, see here, it switches through. You don't have to press then in the infotainment system. You can also stay at the lower part, for example. Then here we have a real big shifting lever. Do you prefer these real shifting levers, or do you prefer the more smaller integrated one that look maybe cleaner, but don't offer, this big haptic feedback? Or don't you care? Please tell me your comments about that. And then we have here cup holders. They are also adaptive. This is really nice, and you know that in the X1 they were not adaptive, so the cup holder solution is better in the Audi. And this armrest here is properly attached with some space underneath, but the BMW offers more interior space in the middle console because of that flying concept. And you also have 2 USB-C charger in the front, and this is here also the inductive charging pad without vents and without a seat belt. Oh, and the automatic handbrake here is not standard. It's like a blindfold button. Really? Infotainment system, I think it's quite easily done. So look at that. It's a good view here with this app view. You know what you get. Car menu here, for example. You can also go to the drive select here for the driving modes, but you can also route it from below as I've shown to you. Then the car internal GPS. This is, by the way, Google satellite view, but it's not Google Maps. So not to confuse it with that, actually. And actually also quite responsive. So overall, I also like the infotainment system here. This and the CarPlay integration looks a little bit more impressive with the BMW. And the sound system, this one here is a base one that doesn't come up with the one in the X1, but you can also get a more elaborate one here. Yeah, but overall, the BMW Harman Kardon system is a better choice. Yeah, I really like the Audi virtual cockpit here. These digital instruments, you can switch the middle view, for example, here also then with the map, but only the car internal map actually is possible here. That's also different than to the BMW. And you can also have this view, for example, but you can also change the whole layout. Either the classic view and sport, they're kind of similar. In this dynamic view, this one is actually completely different in the look. Here, look at that. This is not, related to any classic gauges or something, but I feel the other ones just look more cooler, more classic indeed. Or what do you think? Trunk comparison. It's 530 liters for the Audi, 540 liters for the X1. So it sounds like more capacity, but what about the measurements? Let's start here with the all-new model, the X1. You can see here, cabin trolley fits in easily upright also. And then the length here is like 85 centimeters or 34 inches, a little bit shorter than the Q3, I can already tell you right here. And the width, a good meter or 40 inches. And the bench here folded from the inside, not from the trunk here. It's like 1-1-1 split, so individualize it in total length 166 or 65 inches. Here you can see you don't lose much height right here because of this upright styling here. And then when we move over to the Audi, it's very interesting because we have indeed a little bit more length here at 88 centimeters or 35 inches. So the BMW was ending right here. So that's actually quite good. Width is also about a meter or 40 inches. But the thing is that because it's kind of like chopped off here, this is where we lose the liter figure then in comparison to the BMW. And the length, let's see, to the seat as I would be driving, is that comparable? A little bit longer than 186 or 66 inches. And here this seems to be like a 2/3, 1/3 split, but you can see here the middle part can also be folded down individually here in the Audi as well. Engines, will start with a very interesting fact about the engine bay. Here with the BMW X1, there is this rubber lip here in the lower part, and it goes all the way around right here. And then when the hood is closed, everything stays super clean inside. Look at that. This has been driven in winter here now. Wow, really amazing. And here also on the top part, look at that. Another one. So the engine is super well protected against dust and mud and so on. And we really had an effort cleaning this engine bay of the Audi because there's nothing, like this there. Just here at the top part. This one, and then here you can have this lip here, but it's a smaller one, and then the sides here stay open, and that is actually causing then more mud and everything in the engine bay. Yeah, curious fact, definitely. As for the engine lineup, 2-liter diesel for both, 4-cylinder, and then 1.5 or 2-liter petrol engines, whereas the 1.5 is a 3-cylinder with the BMW. It's also a 4-cylinder here with the Audi. And the comparable engines for today are the 2-liter 4-cylinder petrol engines, the 40 TFSI for the Q3, and the 23i for the X1 would be the 28i in the US with a little bit higher horsepower tune and about 6 seconds in the acceleration figure. But here the 23i and also the 40 TFSI, both around 7 seconds in the acceleration figure. Let's drive them. Welcome to Thomas's Comparison Driving Lounge. BMW X1 versus Audi Q3. We're starting with the X1 23i, would be the 28i in the US, then with a higher horsepower tune. 7 seconds is the official acceleration figure for this one, approximately 7 seconds. We put to the Sport Dynamic mode and also to the S shifting mode. Sport here setup, we do rolling start from 40 kilometers an hour. Let's go. Was through. 175, we'll cut it there because the car in front of us. Now we can accelerate through. It was a pretty nice sound, right? So for that 4-cylinder engine, of course with a little bit of enhancement, but actually felt and heard quite natural. Really nice indeed. Gives you a good feeling when driving the vehicle, and wow, so stable here on the motorway. And this adaptive M suspension we have in here, when we are in that sporty mode, we have a little bit more feedback then of the suspension. Wow, what a settled feeling here on the German Autobahn. Let's see if I Go to the normal personal mode. Yeah, suspension is a little bit more forgiving. It's a good setup, but at the same time it's not like shaking up too much or anything. Very nice lane changes. Whoa, and the turning indicators are so much fun, you know, either with this tipping, or you can also really hammer them in like bam. And do you hear that? Bam. Bam. There's no one behind me, so I'm not confusing anyone here at the moment. Wow. That feels so lovely. So you always want to use the turning indicators all the way because it just resonates so well with the vehicle. And that's one of the coolest things in this vehicle. It really reminds us of vintage BMWs. They give you an analog feeling, really like you put something in with some force, you know, like you would turn it. Yeah, the AC unit is all digital in the screen now. That's one of the things I am missing. If you're one of these guys, 22 degrees Celsius or like 72 degrees Fahrenheit, AC on, automatic mode, and you don't care at all. But me personally, I tend to change it here, back and there, AC on, and so on. So yeah, I like to have a separate control right there. The S shifting mode, by the way, is controlling how far the RPMs are turned up. I can also leave it in the normal D driving mode. And then I can always at any time use the pin down. There's also something coming, but there is a difference. For example, when I'm in the S shifting mode, the car is already usually a gear lower or something. And the gears are turned higher. And what you can also do is use the shifting pedals here, shift down manual or up manual, and hold it to go back then. And interesting, especially when you're in this D mode, when you press and hold the left pedal, you get in the sports boost mode, and when you hold it a little bit longer, yeah, anyway, I have about 10 seconds in that sport boost mode, but yeah, it doesn't really make a large difference. Yeah, not really. The engine feels quick enough. Yes, I would go for the 2-liter 4-cylinder engine if possible on your market. You know that UK markets always are a little bit limited as for the BMW choices they're offering there. That's a pity, definitely. In the US, you don't have another choice anyway then, and also get this higher horsepower tune, which isn't bad at all because it gives you a second quicker in acceleration, definitely. So when you think about buying vehicles, try to get high displacement, low horsepower, so the engine is not under stress. So this downsizing hasn't been... Oh, that's an interesting styling for that Golf 5. Yeah, was it 5 or 6? 5, right? Wow. Yeah, that was an interesting first motorway sequence. The second one is to follow right now. The cool thing about this vehicle is really when I'm here, like in a city situation, stuck in traffic or something, then it feels small enough, and there is no limit as for the sides and so on. You get through narrow areas and so on. But at the same time, it also feels at home on the German Autobahn, on the motorway. This is the thing about the BMW X1. It can do everything. It is a good compromise of everything, actually. It has a very, right-sized approach. Steering wheel, by the way, you know that from recent BMW steering feelings, I expect that it would be a little bit more natural. It's not bad at all or something. It also feels sporty and crisp in a way, but not that naturally progressive, So here at lower speeds, it's actually quite okay. Let's see also if there is a difference in the driving mode. That's the personal mode, Once again, the sport mode. Should be. Now people behind me are starting to wonder if I'm drunk. A little bit of difference, but not too much as I would expect, actually. And to me, the thing is, like, the faster we drive, then this area here gets a little bit dead. So this is already where I can say that the Audi is doing a better job, because they have a very good natural feeling progressive input for their steerings. That's what Audi can do best, actually. Suspension-wise, the adaptive M suspension is doing a great job. 18-inch winter tires on, so they are also giving me a softer experience. And yeah, it's a very, very good suspension, definitely. And it gives you, once again, both sportiness and also comfort. And here the ambient lighting
for such a rather small vehicle segment, compact to premium SUVs. Lovely ambient lighting. You can see that here in the tunnel. That is indeed awesome. And you don't always have to go in the dynamic mode. It also takes time to switch. For example, you can just use the S shifting mode. So when I accelerate out, then I also have good acceleration. See it here, and 150 already. And I think that is rather the use case, because these personal modes, especially because you have to switch them in the screen, then, activate it with the button and switch them in the screen. A little bit too complicated to do it while driving, I think. So rather use the S shifting mode when you want a little bit more boost, or stay in a normal D driving mode and then use the shifting pedals yourself or something. So that would also be an approach. Noise insulation also good here, so reasonable noise insulation at higher speeds, and I'm really astonished how settled and planted this vehicle feels here on the road, even at higher speeds. It gives you so much confidence and control. It's just a lovely ride. Absolutely right size here also for this M steering wheel. It's a great driving experience, and yeah, I can tell you it will be tough for the Audi. Here in this new generation, they refined this car even more, and although it's a front-wheel driven platform, you don't feel much front-wheel bias. That was also another important point I wanted to make. Even though in the acceleration, this one here being the X-Drive version, then you have front plus rear drive on demand. There are also in Europe, for example, versions available without the X-Drive. And it's actually not too bad. Of course, a rear-wheel driven BMW is always something really special and emotional, and giving the agility out of the corners. However, here the advantage is it's a rather light platform, and that means that it has good dynamic handling in the corners. Not necessarily when accelerating out, but just like here, for example, now 9 degrees right turn, it just feels lovely. And when I accelerate out, with this X-Drive here, it's getting quite spontaneous power also to the rear axle, and there's not a notable front wheel bias or something. I think that's something they managed very well. This is also something I'm really looking forward if this is different than any Audi, because there the compact platform follows the same principle and also basically has front wheel bias, but do we feel that a little bit more in the Audi? That will be very exciting indeed. As for assistance systems, of course they're mainly used for the motorway. You can have here the assisted driving. But I sometimes, in these vehicle tests here, tend to test them also on the countryside road, because it is even tougher for the car to do that. The Autobahn, very straight lines and so on. And here, for example, the right line is kind of grayed out. You can hardly see it, but at the same time, the vehicle is really keeping it very well in the lane and also in a very smooth way. Look at that, how refined that assistance system is. That's awesome indeed. And here is still managing that bend here, and also not too hectic from a steering movement. So very well done. I'm not sure if you've seen the blind spot monitor. We haven't been overtaken so many times, but then it's flashing here in the side mirror. So, wow. I mean, besides that the steering could give you a little bit more feeling, it's not as bad as in the 3 Series, by the way. So all the BMW SUVs actually have better steering feeling than the 3 Series. Sadly, we have to say, wow, now the sun is really blinding here. So overall, I can easily live with that steering here. Again, maybe in an update, they will listen to my feedback. I already told you once before in an X1 review that the intention behind that was actually that the car feels even quicker and more agile when the steering is light. That's what the engineer told me. That was they did that intentionally. And I said hey, isn't a BMW customer more appreciating this natural steering input? I mean, it doesn't have to be super hard to steer. Audi shows how that works, not hard to steer, at the same time giving you a direct, sporty, natural input. So it is actually possible. Yeah, but maybe BMW can also, because that's actually all software tuned then nowadays as well, as most things are actually software tuned. But hardware-wise, from driving this vehicle, wow, this is already super convincing here in the overall segment. It's really so much fun to drive it, and driving the most expensive one, not the biggest one of the BMW lineup, not the biggest one of the SUV lineup. It already gives you so much, actually. Still not cheap at all, of course. Then the question is, one of our toughest tests here, hunting this one here up the narrow bends. Here we go, once again in the sport mode and the S shifting mode. Let's see about that. And also, is there any front wheel bias now in these tight corners? This will be very exciting. Yeah, it is fun to see here, definitely. Yeah, very well done. No slip or something. Of course, here in the woods it's always a little bit more moist than on the tarmac. Let's see now our 5 to turn the steering in. Wow. Amazing indeed. So much grip and confidence, and I can't believe that. That doesn't feel front wheel biased at all. This drives on rails. What the? Amazing. And yeah, it is a lot of fun to steer still, So this criticism about more natural feeling it's okay, It could be a little bit better, but just on a very high level, This is so amazing handling wise. Does the Audi Q3 have anything against it? Let's see. Alright, now to the Audi Q3, you go to the S shifting mode and the dynamic mode, and also do an acceleration onto the motorway. Let's see, from 50 here. It's 130, 150, 170. It's a little bit slower actually. It also feels a little bit slower, but it feels slower than it actually is. Here also with the adaptive suspension, lane change, very nicely done also. Very good feeling in that steering. You feel you sit a little bit lower. Once in a while I said also in the interior part, more crossover feeling than SUV driving feeling. So the X7 feels actually larger and bigger, higher, more SUV-ish indeed. Also really good control here over the whole vehicle. We have 19-inch wheels mounted here, so a little bit larger than in the X1. However, this is not all of the difference we feel actually. So I feel that the suspension is in a way more forgiving with the X1. So I think the adaptive suspension of the X1 is doing a better job. So this 1 inch is not everything indeed. And also when we switch back to the comfort or normal auto mode and go back to the normal D shifting mode, the suspension here just feels stiffer, and the X1 feels like it evens out everything. This is also a good suspension here, especially then here with the adaptive function. Yes, however, the X1 suspension just feels so superb that in comparison to the X1, the Audi Q3 suspension feels somewhat weak, but that's just in direct comparison. If you compare this one here to maybe some other non-premium vehicles, or in general saying like, hey, this is a great drive. It drives very, very well, yes. But the X1 now in a direct comparison is so well done as for the driving characteristics, especially suspension. Wow, I'm impressed indeed. That's really superb. Oh, nicely quattro illumination there. Here when we're in the tunnel here now, and I can very well see the climate unit. Yeah, that's the thing. Controlling the AC unit while driving is just better in the Audi. The engine here, by the way, just felt a little bit more annoyed when pushing it. The X1 was more sovereign, more relaxed, and also when you're just doing like this pin down, sound-wise, the X1 just feels more pleasing. This engine here, it just always feels like, do you really have to do it with me? And the X1 engine is like, yeah, sure, you can do that, no problem. Although they are not so different in power. Yes, the BMW has a little bit more horsepower, but then again, the acceleration figures also don't differ that much. It's the same displacement figure, same cylinder count, and so on. So yeah, the BMW engine just seems better tuned and overall better as for the setup and also as for the transmission.
S-tronic here, dual clutch transmission with the Audi, and it feels sometimes, once again, in comparison to the BMW, a little bit too hectic, I would say. There again, the BMW just feels more refined, and this is really something here, you know, when I'm in an Audi Q3 in this compact SUV, premium compact SUV segment, and I say that another vehicle feels way more refined. That is an astonishing finding here, indeed. So the Audi Q3 has always been one of my favorite vehicles here in this segment, definitely. And for example, also because of the steering input. That's actually the best, and it's also better than in the X1. So precise, no dead zone area, it's progressive, you don't have to steer that much. At the same time, it is sporty. Yes, look at that, sporty and comfortable at the same time. It is the perfect steering setup, and it can't be any better than that, I think. This is definitely better with the Audi, and the AC unit while driving. But the rest, you know, like engine, transmission, suspension, that one is really better with the X1. Seating comfort here and so on is good with both, definitely. And I'm absolutely happy and satisfied with the seating comfort here in the Audi Q3. However, once again, because the X1 is so good also in that respect, these new seats here, soft touch sensor tech also, or then when you go with the microfiber as well, guys, relax everyone. It's like just be when someone is not driving like for 1 second, directly using the horn, like, come on. Yeah. I mean, when someone doesn't react like after like 10 seconds, it's okay, but you know what? Yeah, you should be just more relaxed on the road. Once again, one more time in the tunnel, you can see how all the lighting features are here. And then we through again to the dynamic mode. Then it also automatically changes here to the S shifting mode. It's really cool. And I also have these sport gauges here. I really like them. Yeah, it just gives such a good control of the vehicle. So the steering is really, steering wise, I would always go then here for the Audi. But the rest is really leaning towards the BMW at this moment. So let me do one more acceleration here when we're already at speed. And let's see. And I also, okay, the Benz is going first. You better drive it fast. One more time, 92. 150. Nicely in this corner here. 170, that's enough for now. Yeah, it feels really settled on the road as well, but wow. I wouldn't have imagined how big the difference is from the BMW suspension to the Audi one. Once again, the Audi suspension is good. But I really have to say, never had such a superb suspension here in a compact premium SUV like with the BMW X1. I really wouldn't have imagined that the X1 is so much better in driving. Besides maybe the steering where the Audi leads it a little bit. Yeah, super astonishing. But I mean, both vehicles are very suitable. I feel the BMW X1 was also a little bit more silent here in the motorway. Or what do you guys think? Yeah, I think here I have to raise my voice a little bit higher when driving at high speeds. So the BMW in this case then seems more silent, and that also fits to the overall picture. I mean, yes, the Audi Q3 is a little bit older here in this comparison, but still, that is not the crucial thing, you know. Recently we had Mercedes C-Class with Audi A4, and there I went for the Audi A4 because of the easier user interface, just more connected feeling to the car. Although the C-Class has a lot of technology features to offer, so sometimes the older car can be still the better one because it still does something better, you know, and it's maybe more, you know, in an evolutionary sense more evolved, indeed. But here the X1 wins the Autobahn. But let's see, what about countryside driving here and the fast corners? And also, what about the front wheel bias here? We can find out more about that in these tight corners then. Yeah, you see what I mean? It's like this. And sometimes the shifting up is like, in the X1 everything is smoother actually. Also while shifting and so on. Again, not that it would be bad here or something, but the X1 is just smooth in this respect there. So, I mean, exterior-wise, you can really, personal preference, interior-wise, has some advantages here. Both are really nice in interior, and seats are also really great. Which one would I take home? Well, it is a very interesting question because both of these compact premium SUVs are, to me, one of the best there are, and they are so well usable for everything. They are the right sized one in a way of not too large for the city, but already grown up for the Autobahn. So both are great vehicles, no doubt about that. And I really like the Audi Q3. I mean, exterior-wise, it's more a question of, matter of preference. I think both are very nice in the styling. I like the X1 from the front a little bit more. In the side profile, in the rear, I like the Audi a little bit more. So overall, I would take both as for the exterior styling, no doubt about that. Interior, I think also both are very well designed, very clean layout. What I like with the Audi definitely is that we still have this manual AC unit, so easier to control. And also the steering input, that is also cooler with the Audi indeed. But then again, the X1 interior also looks very clean. Yes, it misses the AC unit, the separate one, but more or less you also get along with it, over the time. Interesting is that the Audi seats are very good, but the X1 seats are so exceptionally good indeed, and also more material choice, especially this perforated sensor tech, now also with Alcantara for the US market and so on. So high-class premium seats without animal content. So well done BMW here. But we also had very nice seats here with the Audi today. So you see where this is going. Actually, the Audi is a very good vehicle, and I would still recommend it. But the BMW X1 is topping it in most of the aspects. Not in all, but most. Also here more legroom with the BMW. That is also another crucial aspect here on the interior part. But then driving-wise, I was starting this review off with saying the X1 is more modern, but maybe at the end of the day I would still go with the Audi because I like the more conservative setup with the AC unit, and I love this Audi steering input, feels so natural and progressive. But then I was totally surprised by how good the BMW X1 is in this new generation. Again, this one drives so well, but the X1 drives so much more exceptionally well. I haven't, imagined that. Just when you drive them directly after each other, then you feel like the suspension, transmission, engine is so smooth with the X1. It's just such a smooth and flawless driving experience. Whereas in this comparison, the Audi then feels a little bit more stressed out from the transmission, not so smooth from the engine and so on, sound-wise and how it acts and with the RPM and so on. And you wouldn't really feel it that much when you drive it individually and compare it maybe against other competitors. But when you compare it to this one here, I'm really impressed of how good the all-new X1 is. So when you get this one here for a decent price, I can still recommend it, no doubt. But at the very same price, no doubt I would always go for the X1 now. And this came as a surprise that it's so clear. However, pricing-wise, it's very interesting as well. These are highly spec'd vehicles, yes. This one here today is a little bit higher spec, for example, also panoramic roof, the adaptive LED headlamps. Yes, the wheels are a little bit larger with the Audi here, but this one here has some more options. But then again, the Audi is a little bit less expensive, and the very vehicle spec here, 59,000 euros for the Audi Q3 40 TSI Advanced, and here 66,000 for the BMW X1 23i M Sport. So 7,000 euros difference. Then you also start thinking maybe a little bit, yes. So it always also depends on the individual trim and also the individual offer you get at your dealer. So when there's a large price difference, you might also want to say, hey, I'm also satisfied with the Audi. Yeah, but we have to say this comparison overall then goes to the BMW X1 as the winner. What do you say? What would you pick? Audi or BMW, Q3 or X1? Tell me in the comments, join in discussion.
So starting with the big ones, BMW X7 versus Audi Q7. Both, of course, really great rides, and I was happy with both of them for sure. Gotta say that the X7 offers more luxury and comfort definitely, and also more space because it's the longer vehicle. So Audi doesn't really offer the same length in this very comparison. And so the X7 just gives you more, especially also more seating comfort with these high quality Sensación seats, for example. And as I said, more space, especially then for that third seating row. BMW X5 versus Audi Q8. Also two very lovely SUVs to drive, and the Audi, for example, especially in the RS Q8 trim, for example, such a great, fantastic dynamic ride. So the Audi really has a great dynamic ride, definitely, that's clear, even in the base versions. However, the X5, once again, better in the seating comfort and the offer of materials, and also better in the reliability rankings, at least if you take primarily these from the US, for example. I like the user interface with the Q8, that you still have the separate climate unit in that lower screen. I mean, manual or physical dials would always be better, but the separate touchscreen solution is a little bit better in the Audi, I feel. However, overall, if you take everything into consideration, I think the X5 maybe has a little notch over the Q8, but I think they are both really nice. Then BMW X3 versus Q5. The X3 has been criticized for some lacking interior trims, so that they are not that high class anymore from the interior, and some of these criticism points are correct, like for example no covering at the inside of the doors and so on, but they also account for the Audi Q5 in that new generation, so I feel that here once again the X3 offers the better package with better seating, better reliability and even better price, because the all-new Audi Q5 has been so expensive. So I think that the X3, especially in the new generations here, still has a notch over the Q5, also if you consider that the engine is just more likable to drive and also more fuel efficient. And that's also something we see throughout the segments, that the BMW engines and transmissions are better. They are also more efficient in general, even sometimes a difference of 1 or 2 liters on 1 kilometers between different engines here. And also the BMWs use the torque converter as automatic gearbox most of the time, while the Audis are more and more stuck with the S-tronic dual clutch transmissions and even lose the classic quattro all-wheel drive distribution, whereas BMW always has this rear-wheel based all-wheel drive. And then BMW X1 versus Audi Q3. Here of course the Audi Q3 is a little bit aged. We will soon present to you the all-new Audi Q3 in this very respect here. Also the X1 has a notch on the Q3. Then again, we will update you with this pair once again when we can present you the all-new Audi Q3. In general, I have to say, yeah, I'm driving an Audi myself, so I won't let it count when anyone say, hey, you're just a BMW fan or something like that. No, as I said, I bought an Audi myself. Happy owner also of an Audi S5, but not always happy because I also had problems with it myself as well. I also did a separate episode on that. But if you really look closely at the individual pairs, drive them after each other, they're all great cars to drive, definitely, and Audi gives you very good driving dynamics. But the overall package, together with price-performance ratio, pricing, how the engine feels, transmission, and also then the reliability, at this moment BMW has the better SUV offering than Audi. What do you think about it? Which one would you go for? And my final verdict, my final pick, which one of all of these SUVs would I pick first? Yeah, if you ask me, I would probably end up with the BMW X5. Which one would you go for? Tell me in the comments, and see you at more of our comparison episodes.